This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
When Luke Skywalker was most vulnerable.
This is a dangerous time for you. It is you and your abilities the Emperor wants.
When a renegade hero became a friend in desperate need. And a dark villain faced his greatest challenge.
Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
When the Empire turned more and more to the forces of the underworld.
Bounty hunters. We don't need that scum.
The underworld moved in to crush the Empire and the Rebellion in a single stroke. After The Empire Strikes Back and before Return of the Jedi, there was a time when heroes and villains alike lived in the shadows of the Empire.
I was hoping, as I was rereading the comics, that's the area that I know the most about as far as in this realm. And one of the drinks that's offered to Leia when she goes to visit with Zizor or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
is green champagne. And I was like, oh, that would be perfect for my drink of the evening. I'll just get some sort of fruit juice and some bubbly, and we'll be good to go. But
yeah.
I didn't do that much.
I mean, you can turn beer green. It's just a little food color.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
No, here's a mimosa idea. You got your champagne, high C ecto cooler if you can find
there
it.
There
That
you go.
That would do it.
Yep.
I love it.
I was thinking one of the Red Bulls. I think a few of those are sort of a green color. But also like the specifically green champagne. So it was from the Champagne region of France, imported all the way to another galaxy.
Oh, don't worry. There's going to be plenty of drink.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't even have thought of that.
I love it, though. I'm glad you made that astute connection because I am always wondering what kind of drinks they're drinking.
That implies there's a champagne region of the Star Wars galaxy. That's what that implies.
You must go to the Dagobah system. We have a skill there.
That's right. It's from the Champagne system.
I thought it was from the Space Worm system. Preferably one stuck in asteroids.
Comes from.
Oh yeah, there you go. So we got the usual suspects back here. Tom is ready to rumble. Cliff from Predator and Gonzo Minute is always ready to take off, and Hans has just been shot up like a rocket into space. But we got a very exclusive guest from one of the other movie minutes family. Yeah. Got David Pallas from
5 Minutes of Mystery. It's the only podcast that covers Mystery Men in 5-minute chunks.
Yes.
1 minute, 5 minutes at
but you have been on Real Comic Heroes a bunch.
I mean, yeah, I've been, but like that's Travis's bag. Like he runs that show.
Yes, he does.
I'm just honored to be on it when I am.
You always steal the show. Having a hell of a time lately going through some of the 90s James Bond and the infamous American Godzilla, and you guys are always so chill. I will always learn something new about a character I thought was either shallow or very three-dimensional, but you knew most of what they did, and you guys are always talking about their new gadgets, how their personas portrayed, just turning to the dark side, all that stuff. Just
I love being
but yes, the Mystery Men episode was amazing. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. God, I would love to get a sequel to that, and I obviously love the sequel to Shaz the Empire. I'm not gonna get it either probably before I die. Is what it is.
Yeah, we should start another crowdfunder just for the hell of it.
Make your own.
Yeah, there you go. We'll do a fan film. or do our own thing that's very inspired by it.
I've seen pulse cannons and gladiator droids. I've seen Beggar's Canyon and Imperial sewers. I've seen dead ends and infinite space. I've seen 360 degrees of tomorrow, and for once, live to tell about it. Because I've got the ultimate fighting machine.
We decided, we were always going to revisit some aspect of Star Wars one way or another, and it was just like, okay, we could talk about a few different spin-offs, and in this case, we had something that accessed all three formats. It was a book, and it was a video game, and a comic, and it's just like, man, like, everybody got impacted by it somehow for the most part, one way or another, and I've encountered all three. I would play the game on our PC. I would, especially a lot in the 2000s, and I love the comic book because it's kind of its own unique version instead of having to be everything like the text. And there were rumors for a while of it. We should make this one of the movies back when the Star Wars Expanded Universe was first being popularized in the late 90s. And you guys were mentioning the main villain, who's kind of the main focus. He's just a Feline prince from the House of Saran, I believe is how you spell it, and the leader of the crime organization Black Sun, which has been re-examined in the Clone Wars folklore now.
And recanonized. A number of things have bled over into canonization.
Right. Much like General Thrawn, he was a popular villain. He was close to the Imperial Palace, but less splendid was his home outside Feline. And see, I thought he was like a Twi'lek kind of creature, and he's like, no, he's a Feline. And I'm like, oh, okay, wow, I didn't.
Just a weird lizard man.
You're right. That's kind of what it's an allusion to, a snake oil salesman.
I think his backstory was like his family or people on his planet were killed by Vader, like during one of Vader's like conquests after.
Yeah,
the Clone
that's
Wars.
his whole like reason for doing what he's doing.
That's a good point, because like.
And he wiped it from like records that like his whole family was killed by Vader, and like so he's doing all this other stuff because he can't fight him one-on-one.
Like a typical sheep.
Yeah, so he's doing all this subterfuge, behind the scenes kind of stuff to take him down because he
much
hates
like
him.
Palpatine does. He turns all these different creatures
Very
who are good.
Sithy.
Right. You take whoever's the warrior of your race and basically have them commit genocide or make them think they're the superior one, everyone else is lesser. And I forgot how they also imply that he's a martial artist in the galaxy, and he loves meeting up with Palpatine, and the Hutts all kind of fear him.
Yeah, he also I think they said he had certain pheromones that
that's gross.
So they gave him a lot of different they just kind of threw at the wall all these different villain things at him. And I think Palpatine even knew. I think Palpatine knew that Vader did it to his family and on this planet. And I think Palpatine's like, oh, this is, and Palpatine was enjoying the fact that that they were going to clash in some way.
You're right.
I always thought that too. I love that.
Yeah, Vader's so brainwashed he doesn't realize he's like, dude, he's gonna harm one of your kids and then seduce the other one.
Anakin's dumb as hell. Let's be honest. He's just a attack dog
he's
that you set off
Jenkins.
the leash. You point him towards the direction of something you want done, and he just is a maniac.
Oh, it's what he wants.
Doesn't think things through.
Well, I mean, why
if he
would
did,
he?
He'd still have his legs and arms, and
right. He can be on the tallest hill and still not know.
He's a dummy.
Right.
He's just a dummy.
He's a puppet. We also got from the Predator Minute joining us, A-aron.
A-aron.
A-aron. Yes. Sorry. Don't you guys sometimes call each other A-aron? No? I thought you did in one episode.
Yeah.
We're just funny.
They're calling everybody Ken.
Fugitive Ken. Right.
You mentioned the whole thing about the pheromones. I was reading a little sort of behind the scenes or whatever, and apparently it was part of the story that they had told the writer. I'm forgetting his name.
Steve Perry.
Yep.
Steve Perry.
No relation to Journey. We swear.
Yeah, the
Hey, don't
seduction
stop
of Princess
believing.
Leia was supposed to be like a full thing. Like they were saying,
They were
that the
supposed to
seduction was going to
bang.
work.
Yeah.
And
In the book, in the
he
novel,
and you
that
think-
was supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's wild to think because there's such control freaks over there, especially now, to think that they were like, no, you should do this crazy thing. And the writer was like, no.
Yeah, they wanted him to do that. That's nuts.
People weren't thinking it through. I mean, it's kind of reminds me of the original, what was supposed to be the fourth Indiana Jones script. And you'll love this. There's a lot of stuff that would not date well where one of his students tries to accuse India of seducing her. And it's like, so even post pre-Me Too, someone thought this was going to be funny. I'm like, come on, man. Why not just have her be a love
in
interest?
the original Indiana Jones.
You kind of can imply with Marion and all that. But
She's like, I was a child.
Yeah,
She says that.
People weren't
It's a
thinking
whole
this
other,
through.
It's
yeah.
a whole other thing we don't need to get into. But
Right, but it's wild how they mention some of this risque stuff, and you're like, what audience is this for again? It should be PG-13, right? Right?
And here's your connection with Indiana Jones too. The person who did the soundtrack for Shadows of the Empire.
That's right.
also
There
did
was
it for
an
young
original?
Indiana Jones.
Oh wow!
the fact that they had a soundtrack for something that never existed is fucking insane.
Yeah,
It rips too.
Did they ever?
Yeah,
use
it's
any of
good. It is good.
It is great. Did they ever? I'm glad you brought that up. I knew it was freaking something. Did they play any of that in the video game? Some of that music?
yeah.
Yeah, it's
They
probably
did.
like a MIDI version, because it's the N64. So
Let's
They had
see.
like almost every chapter. I think they had its own little suite of music. I mean, I played an N64 since it was like a launch title.
Sweet.
Kind of.
me too.
Yeah, I had it for Windows, but I would love to do the N64 version. I mean,
No, it's all blocky and polygons.
I
mean,
yeah,
that's
it's the N64.
Yeah.
Like, it was awesome at the
PC
time.
has the PC has the full acted like video, right?
it's a bit of
that too. You couldn't.
And-
You didn't get those cut scenes.
and
You just
awesome
got, like, a
animation.
splash
So
page.
that was kind of the other beauty of it too. And what we play at the start of this recording, these awesome ads for it. So that it's kind of the rarity. Just this big multi-format campaign, and it's advertised everywhere in magazines. And I just love Dash Rendar. Like much like the Kyle Katarn, they do a good job of blending him in. There's
Han
other
Solo with shoulder pads.
absolutely.
He's just an '80s businessman or businesswoman.
Or I was going to say that maybe they had Rob Liefeld got involved, he'd have shoulder pads and pockets and really badly drawn feet.
Badly drawn
he's
feet.
so
yeah.
Rob Liefeld. Like
And
it's like
tons
he
of
looks like he
pouches
has
everywhere.
pouches everywhere.
I mean,
He never has anything he needs.
At least
that
he
too.
didn't. To be fair, at least he didn't have a Laura Croft type chest.
At least as far as
He definitely had
As
some.
far as
luscious
we
I
hair.
don't know what's under those shoulder pads. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And much
I
like
like also that they totally just were like, I'm gonna go join my people back on my home planet at the end of it because they
Right,
knew that they were
Poochie.
like, we just need him gone. So he's like, oh yeah. They're like, you should keep having adventures with us. He's like, no, you guys are good on your own. And they're like, that guy, he's something else. We'll never see him again.
Never seen him
It's like, yeah,
That's
just happened.
convenient.
I feel like he has the persona of Biggs Darklighter minus losing his life. But yeah, he's got a code, but he is a little more selfish than Han Solo. He's like, yeah, and I'm out. But I'll remain to.
I mean, he's Han Solo without the plot armor, right?
Without, I see what you did there. But
the
it's funny.
plot
plot
armor, yeah.
responsibilities.
You mentioned the shoulder pad. They gave Kyle Katarn a shoulder pad as well, and both of them they did make an action figure of.
Mhm.
But I think the beauty of looking at the video game, like the book and comic jump right into how is he going to escape, why he's a smartass, but he
Well,
has
it's interesting
contacts.
that those three things, like, they sort of tell the same story,
But they have
the
their own
video game's
identity.
more Dash Rendar.
Right.
The comic is more like kind of Boba Fett and all that.
Yeah, there's a lot of Boba Fett.
Absolutely. No, that's a good point. The book is about
But it's like you had to
suspense.
read them all or play them all to understand everything, but there was so much crossover of like,
Yeah.
the same
Right.
thing that was annoying. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
like 30% of this might be new, but the other 70 I know already.
If you want the whole thing, collect them all. But if you want just one, you'll still be content. But yeah, that's true. Like Boba Fett was just mentioned here and there, while the book, you get a little more detail into Leia and Lando's plan and some usual camaraderie between the droids and Chewie sneaking in.
And it's really the micro machines that bring the entire universe together. If you don't have the micro machines, you won't understand any of the story.
I see what you did there. And for those who don't know, please look them up. Come on.
It really was one of the elements of the multimedia thing.
I mean, the game, that was the hardest level, kicking the shit out of that giant droid. That's like a giant Rancor-sized Godzilla droid that attacks you. But the fun thing about the game, especially if you activated cheat codes, which I totally recommend with any Star Wars game because it's just funny, is just I'm not kidding, you would launch a bomb that would wipe out any enemy through walls. And I would use it on all the Wampas as I was escaping Echo Base on the Hoth planet.
They were comically tanky.
They were very tanky. They'd be swiping at you and be like, how would I die?
The sand wampas.
45 seconds.
Those were the sand wampas that were genetically engineered for
That's basically
reasons.
Yeah.
And they must have good milk or something. I don't know.
I must have good milk.
Yeah, speaking of that giant robot, the worst thing about that, there's a green guy with a flute playing as
I think,
Power
yeah.
Ranger reference or Super Sentai, depending upon your flavor.
Oh my god!
The guy from Star Wars Explained does a playthrough of it and talks a lot about how the timeline works. You know, as far as or doesn't work, I should say, as far as it coming together. Where he's like, okay, so in the comic, it's like, okay, we're gonna meet you there, and then you go off in the video game and have this huge adventure. And it's like,
yeah.
So I guess those guys just also took a break for a couple months.
I think they did.
We got to go rescue Leia in a few days, maybe next year.
Right. There's not the same level of urgency. And I mean, I get it. You know, you want each thing to stand out, but you do kind of have to make your own, like you say, it's kind of like comparing all these director's cuts in the past we've done. It's like, make up your own master cut in your head. Somehow Dash had time to evacuate and to save the other rebels and to go along with the fleet and meet up with Leia and, Lando before, and it's after Empire. So somehow they had all this time just, before they're doing their undercover op and trying to, follow him, Boba to Jabba's palace. It's like, man, you guys are busy. When do you sleep?
Never.
Oh, Hans, I see you're having a drink, and I looked it up. What's offered from Zizor to Leia. He says, something to drink, Princess, Lorrainian brandy, green champagne. Those are the options. That's a classic sci-fi trope, by the way. He's like, take something but then add a little thing.
Isn't there green champagne?
Color to it, or
I
mean, that's the blue milk. It's the
exactly.
Blue milk. And by the way, rub some dirt on it. Sorry. Good.
Yeah, but the only way that you can even make that seem even better would be if you had Christopher Walken playing the Continental.
There you go.
Sure, some platinum brandies, green champagne.
Yes,
some champagne, and he's doing it like his potato. I mean, unless you want him to do it. I mean, unless you want him to do it like his failed Star Wars audition for Han Solo.
Yeah, they do that. Star Trek is notorious for that too, because they'll always be like, "Oh, it's my favorite composers: Beethoven, Bach, and Zorblocks the Magnificent." Or whatever. And it's like, okay, I know it's the future.
You drop two things, and then a thing that's fucking nonsense.
Hamlet and the original Klingon. I mean, seriously.
Yes.
Green champagne. Don't you just have fucking champagne? Why the fuck?
Yeah, I always.
If champagne exists, what are you doing? Why would you want a green?
There's a champagne region
perennial St. Patrick's Day all the time. What are you doing?
St. Patrick. There's the question: does Patrick Stewart celebrate on St. Patrick's Day?
There's a really bad Earth reference in the first comic, I think, where Wedge is flying and he says something like, "That's why you always want to have a free safety in the backfield." And I'm like, that makes no fucking sense unless you know football.
Football in there? What?
I saw that. I was like, what the hell?
And he helps them escape, right? With like an X-Wing squadron, I think, at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
I assume they have football like football is in Starship Troopers. That's their football.
Oh, yeah. Space football. Yeah. It's green football. It's totally different.
It's green football.
You wouldn't understand.
It's better than Pyramid.
Yeah, that's true.
Battlestar Galactica. What the hell?
Oh yeah, it's just a stupid version of basketball.
Yeah,
that wasn't Pyramid. Pyramid was the card game. The other game was kind of like a combination of rugby and basketball. They were throwing balls into hoops. I can't remember what it's called.
Start with a 3-point stance or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's nonsense.
Now Pyramid,
it's like wrestling.
I would like to learn how to play that game.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like Sabak.
Oh yeah, Sabak. Yeah.
There's a
where you get to play that in the various games.
Yeah.
Sabak, isn't he related? Isn't he Spock's cousin?
Oh, I see what
his brother.
There. Yeah.
What does God need with a starship?
Yeah, there's a really fun one, and there's a modern video game. I mean, it's like a short little indie game called Times and Galaxy that does a lot of humorous stuff, and you play as a journalist, but they have a game in there, and I think it's just called Ball. And anytime someone's talking about it, it's just a mix of all the different sports. He's like, yeah, after he skated down the rink for 100 yards, he got a touchdown, 3 points. And they won.
See, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
You can't just sort of do one, just mesh them all together.
And that's, kids, is how we got rollerball.
Now, those of you that have read the comic, if you don't mind, because this is the thing that I've often wondered about. And I there's a bunch of swoop bike riders, everyone's favorite thing from Star Wars, and they're led by a guy named Big Gizz. And since it's never said, because I think there is a swoop bike level, right? But I don't think that you ever hear it out loud. So I have to assume it's Jizz. It looks like Giz, but there was so
no, that's the name of the
the
music in Star Wars.
Yeah, the music is spelled Jizz. Then it have to be.
It's not jazz. It's Jizz.
Yeah, get a load of this guy.
Yeah, but it's like it's GI, so it could be like giant. It could be like that sort of pronunciation, and that's just a space name. He's Jizz, Big Jizz. And he's always like coming after you, and there's like just, the way the guy's writing it, I was like, I know he knows this is what's up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think we should take a moment to step back and think about Star Wars in the 90s. Obviously, I was a child growing up because I was born in '88, so I was born after the fact of Return of the Jedi. But you have this dead period in the '90s, and then you have George Lucas
dark times.
Just kind of commissions this Shaz the Empire. It's everything but an actual film. And
it's a movie without the movie.
Yeah, and I think
that's what they built it as. That
just before, I think it was like just before that came out. I think I started people started, hey, would you like to watch Star Wars? And I didn't know what that was. I only knew of like a little bit of Star Trek because obviously like I knew people that watched The Next Generation. So I watched Star Wars. I go, cool, and another three, the original trilogy, great. And then Shaz the Empire comes out, and I just accept that like, oh yeah, other stories could just take place, and it doesn't have to include the main characters. And then like, yeah, I get a little older. You play you play the Kyle Katarn games. You start playing
Dark
all those
Forces, Force Unleashed, all that.
And yeah, and you start to kind of like, you're like okay with like hearing other stories that are not based on like some kind of main Jedi canon. And then you play Rogue Squadron. And what's so funny is that when Disney finally gets the rights to make more Star Wars, and they're so hard on about trying to continue that Skywalker line, they kind of shoot themselves in the foot because they kind of like they narrow the focus so pinpoint, and then they go to then they have to get desperate. Like, oh my god, people are kind of like fading off. Let's do let's go to do the Mandalorian show, and then we're all like, okay, great, like it's a plot line that's not really tied to anyone. It's about and then they get they do, oh, we'll do the Boba Fett show, and we're like, okay, cool, like we all been wanting some more Boba Fett for years, and Tamora Morrison's going to reprise, great. And what's so funny is when by the time we get to the Boba Fett show, you start seeing that focus narrow. They don't want to like go anywhere with it. They don't want like Boba Fett walks the same block, takes his helmet off, and goes,
yes.
Do you know who I am? No, you look like a clone trooper. I don't know, man.
Like one.
Well, everything's 5 years.
Familiar.
Everything's 5 years after Return of the Jedi. It's like this worked, so we're just gonna do
and they
this.
don't want to
Just keep
leave that
doing it.
zone.
Yeah.
They don't want to leave the core planets. And I was so surprised because I thought in my head when I hear the Boba Fett, oh, Oh, he kills was it the Twilight guy that runs, what's his name? Bib Fortuna.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, he took out Bib Fortuna. I guess
he took Bib Fortuna out in a post-credit scene.
Yeah, and it was so weird that watching the Boba Fett show and you kind of like go through those motions again, and he's out there with the Sand people and going through that.
He's also a crime lord that is like not a crime lord.
No, that's a good point too, because kind of like how Boba Fett's kind of trying to fit into this bizarre world. I always kind of get from Prince Caesar, he's the cool kid on the block, but only in his mind. He's not as big just because he's hanging out with Palpatine. He thinks he's big, but he's really not. He's not, even though the Hutts are cautious about him, he's not fearful of him. Oh.
It is weird that when the Hutt is taken out and then Bib Fortuna is taken out, they have that syndicate, that other alien race that doesn't really, they're not really imposed, they don't really do anything. And I'm very surprised that they've never tried to bring in Black Sun and try to kind of like, let's bring a new villain in with a power vacuum that the Hutt.
I mean, they kind of have. Like at the end of Solo, Maul is the head of Black Sun.
Oh yeah, honestly, sorry, I did forget that. But also that also is prequel, so you're kind of like, all right, then what happened to the Black Sun? Like, you're kind of
always.
Well, yeah, we never actually know what happens with that.
I thought Aura
we get Maul's end in Rebels.
Right.
But we don't really know how he goes from the leader of this giant crime syndicate.
There's a bit of that. They've expanded some of the bounty hunters who are at the pod race, like Aura.
They haven't explained the Maul thing though. Like, how did he get from here to there?
Yeah,
I thought he was a clone, right? Or
Maul?
No, Maul. So Maul,
the new one in Rebels, right? Or
I'm trying to remember if it was in.
That's not a new Maul. That is Maul.
Because
they resurrected
cut in
him.
half.
Okay,
that's Maul with robot legs.
Yeah, he's spider legs. Yeah, he gets some spider legs. And then number two.
How else do you want Maul back? But yeah, Cliff shared a funny photo here.
He's
There's
great
the big,
in Rebels.
You
don't know how he gets there.
Because
he just shows up on some Sith planet. Like, he's just there.
That fight at the end, his death,
Obi?
alert, is one of my favorite scenes in all Star Wars.
It's so good. It's
a great fight.
Good.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's like two moves, but it's
like a samurai
fucking
film.
good.
Yeah.
He tries to use the same move he used on Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan knows that.
He's Obi-Wan's.
That's it.
Always,
so good.
It's a great scene, but I think it's also just one of those. Aside from the samurai homage, it's just a way of just showing if Maul doesn't kill him, gravity will kill him, and so he just knows how to circle around at the right time. But yeah, Cliff shared
also shows Obi-Wan because it's like we've seen a lot of sort of hyperkinetic fights and. There's different ways of sort of being a lightsaber user. And, it's like, hey, he's learned just ultimate like patience and mind game skill.
Yeah, he's just like ultimate power at that point. Like he doesn't need to have this protracted engagement. It's just
that's exactly it.
It's over.
Plus,
I have this mission to protect the chosen one. So
and plus it's a throwback to the original Star Wars because of the connection to the sort of one of the grounding principles of it, which was the Seven Samurai.
Yes.
Yeah, because if he was flipping around and that took 20 minutes, it'd be like,
Naboo's
what the hell is that Vader
defend?
Like, what are we doing?
The Trade Federation's basically the Death Star, the giant one controlling all the trades.
What I'm trying to get at, though, is we've obviously now modern Star Wars is starting to go back and they're starting to pull stuff from the prequels because that's what 20 and 30-year-old people were. That was the Star Wars they started growing up with and they enjoyed. And we like pointing at the screen when they bring back a character.
Say, I know this. I remember that.
I don't consider Shadows of the Empire a failure. It didn't really go a lot of places, but it definitely kept the torch alive for 10 years.
Oh, it was a massive success.
So what I ask is,
it was a preface to see if they could do the prequels.
So what I
like they were like, is this work? Yeah, it does.
It was a precursor.
Let's do these 3 movies.
So then, why is it that we like? Why hasn't started like? Because Shadows of the Empire's story is Legends. It can't work right now. We've set too many things up that we can't try to plug what actually happens in Shadows of the Empire. But why not cannibalize parts, plots, characters? Like,
well, they have.
Why? But not enough. honest to God, not enough.
Well, not enough because I mean it's a money-making machine, so they're not going to canonize everything that already happened because they can make money off.
But
you know,
take Caesar.
But Dash Rendar exists in the universe.
Yeah, and
does
the Faline, which started here. But Kathleen Kennedy
Black
has
Sun
said
exists. Like
Kathleen Kennedy says it's one of
exists. Like
her requests, and she said as recently as I think 2023 that she's like, we're still working on a way to do it. I mean, she's been saying that forever, but still.
Yeah.
So clearly, that's true. There's interest there.
Yeah, parts of it do exist, like currently in canon.
I'm just like, when I was getting bored with later seasons of Mando and later episodes of Boba Fett, and I'm kind of like, this is where you could have plugged in, just take an idea from Shaz the Empire.
Zyzer could have been one of the merchants.
Well, they did have the swoop bike riders, unfortunately. They were like, oh, you know what, the thing that everyone hated, let's put that in there.
What kills me about that was that I thought that had juice that they didn't squeeze. Because if you just
I'll meet you guys halfway. It was interesting, but I didn't like how they filmed it. It was a little shaky.
Yeah. What killed me is that, like, if you just said that these swoop bike rider kids were like they were wannabe pod racers.
Yeah.
And what a name. Zizz.
But it's like you made it so it's like, hey, we used to we were up and coming pod racers, but when the Hutts died, no one's funding the races anymore. So we're essentially just speed junkies. I think you could have won a lot of fans over with that, because it was like that makes
really
sense. Like, what do you do if you're a guy who could go real fast, but no one's paying you to do it? I don't know. Go to Life of Crime. I'll just customize my bike and just see, become a gang member.
Yeah, I mean, they went for like the modders kind of thing of like American Graffiti and all that. Like they're trying to do an homage, but what you're saying is actually far more interesting.
I just felt like there was a lot of meat that could have been on the bone that they just did not want to put there.
Lucas definitely grew up with movies,
but they gave us 3 movies. But they gave us 3 movies of Jar Jar. That's a crime.
Well, really, just
the other Leroy Jenkins besides Anakin, yeah. And plus, he started the Clone Wars, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question. Has Guri ever been canonized in any way? Because that's like she's not even that much in Shaz the Empire, but it's like the concept of a android life
replicant.
Model.
Yeah,
yeah. Very
that's as Blade Runner as it gets. Yeah.
Well, it's also very Star Trek, and they usually try not to look like they like to stay in their own lanes very deliberately. And I think
you're not going to see
that's a Data situation.
That's true. Like you're not going to have an absolute straight up robot. You're going to have one that's very dorky, but you're never going to see inside their mind. I mean, Rogue One kind of expanded a bit on the robot, but that was it. Like for the most part, they're often just droids as opposed to a straight up cyborg kind.
And Darth Vader's really more machine than man. So,
I mean, he's a machine puppet.
It's a meat puppet.
A meat puppet later. A meat puppet turned machine puppet.
Yeah. I guess I'm just saying is that, like, I don't know, they keep talking about what they're going to do after Rise of Skywalker, where they're going to go with it. They keep saying a Rey show, making the temple.
They should have just cloned the Emperor instead of do the whole, well, gee, I don't know how he got here, but we brought him back.
Yeah.
Somehow.
That'd be a boring series right there.
Yeah, oh God, but I wouldn't put it past them.
I know. They'll do anything now.
I
think they lack creativity, really.
I gotta tell you, I'm not even all caught up on Skeleton Crew, and I feel weird
Skeleton Crew
because it used to be I didn't miss anything Star Wars related.
Skeleton Crew is good, man.
I liked the first 3 episodes because they dropped first 2 or first 3 at once, and then I started traveling and I was overseas, and I just haven't got caught back up. But that seems like, wow! I was like,
it's the best thing they've
usually
done
I'm on it on opening,
best thing they've done since Andor. Like,
yeah, going back to the Emperor part, they could, if they really wanted to go deep into the expanded universe, they could just go back to what they did with Dark Empire.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they can't now, but they probably should have done something like that.
Take some of those ideas, use some of that technology, and I mean, there's a lot of people who only got into Star Wars because of the expanded universe. You might as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the Acolyte wasn't
canonized Thrawn because that brought it back to life.
That brought it back.
Yeah. We need to get Jax or whatever that robot or the rabbit.
The rabbit, yes.
If we can get the rabbit pilot back just to annoy Lucas, because I think that was his least favorite character.
There you go.
Then
Just so Disney be like,
he hated
Wait a
Mara
minute.
Jade.
That
more
might
than
actually
anything.
work because Disney owned as a stake in Marvel, and that's where that giant rabbit came from.
Do you want it to look like a rabbit or like the one from Song of the South?
I want it to be that exact rabbit from. I want it to look like that. And I want the horse back as well.
The horse
Jedi, or
the horse Jedi. My
Bojack.
my horse, my carriage for a horse. So I gotta say though, the robot, the rabbit looks suspiciously like Captain Carrot.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that's why Lucas.
I think there's only so many ways you can draw a rabbit. It's just I think the artist knew how to draw a rabbit. He's like, fuck it.
Just merge with Warner Brothers and have Bugs Bunny in space.
You know, one thing though, Shadows of the Empire, and I think, and I mean, it's been a while since I've read the other comics that would have preceded this in Marvel, but I think this is the first time we see the giant hologram that we later see in the sequels. Because when the Emperor's talking to Vader, he's like a whole room of a hologram, the way Snoke was. Mm-hmm. And they had never done that before, which makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And I was like,
was it that in the Empire?
Yeah, we see it in the Empire. I can't, and I think that isn't a special edition thing. It's there.
It was in the beginning.
It's a different actor in their original.
I just mean the fact that they did a giant hologram. You know,
I mean, it's a giant head.
Yeah, it's a big
that's
head.
true. But in this comic, in Shadows of the Empire comic, and I think it's fairly early on when Emperor's talking to Vader, he's just like huge and is like leaning down.
Yeah,
and, like,
no, that's true.
You're a clown, Vader.
It's a dramatic arc, but it also looks artificially funny in some versions.
We have the antithesis of that when Veers is in his AT-AT and he sees a tiny little Vader.
The Emperor probably made him do that. He's like, hey, I got you a hologram projector. And he's like, oh, like yours? He's like, kind of like mine. Yeah. Mine.
To answer your question, I mean, well, why else do you think those admirals stuck around so long? That's ego stroking at that point. See, here's the little guy. You could be him next line.
He puts like a Snapchat filter on it, so Vader's got like googly eyes.
Yeah,
he's got like
someone's drawn it on his face.
Got a poop emoji for the helmet.
A poop emoji, and Vader's like, oh, but
like, I'm never accepting another gift from the damn Emperor.
Right. Oh, by the way, about that promotion.
Honestly, do we have any clue what this Mandalorian Grogu movie is going to be about? Like, they kind of wrapped
basically
everything
a wrap
up.
up.
Be about 2 hours.
But but that's the thing. Is like they wrapped it up. Like they literally had a cabin that they were chilling at, and already season 3 was like mostly just him helping other characters complete quests.
Yeah, I think
it's gonna be like Thrawn and bringing like Ahsoka and all that into it.
I was thinking a bit of that. He'll bring Boba along, but I think he's also gonna just his final arc until
the NPC Lorian.
Well, they're doing. I think it's gonna be like I think it's gonna be like an heir to the Empire, like not fully.
They should bring that guy back, but
they've set it up. Like we all obviously know he doesn't succeed, but they're setting it up.
We had the Ray Winston. Was it Ray Winston character that just sadly is not with us anymore?
Fucking.
Ray
we don't know what he was doing. Yeah. He was going somewhere.
He's going for Abeloth.
If you're not going to show him,
Abeloth. That's what he's doing.
Then you got to either have him be a mechanical robot, or you got to show a body and show the other spoiled.
They had to recast, because they clearly had an idea for what was going on.
They have an idea, but you can't recast. It's Stevenson.
You can. You
can, but why?
I'm sorry.
He's not Chadwick Boseman. You can recast.
I'm on the fence with either cast or have some kind of influence the blonde Padawan lady.
That's what I'm saying. The Sith Padawan
follows in his footsteps.
Shinhati.
Shinhati. It sounds like you're telling me a Thai language. Shinhati.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think she needs to have killed him behind the scenes. We see a corpse. She comes in. She's gathered all his powers because it is kind of like Highlander, where you get all.
He approached essentially the Mortis gods from Clone Wars. Like that was.
I feel like we're being edged with the whole Mortis thing for what feels like decades now.
I always took the Mortis thing kind of like the just if I can for a minute. Please. Council in the chambers. I always took that kind of like when Palpatine tells the Darth Plagueis half truth, to Anakin. Like Sith will elaborate anything until they're caught naked, and they will, fight back. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was doing his usual typical measure of twisting the truth a bit. I mean, if they want to have Thrawn has killed both these guys, I'd be cool with that as well. Like he was just waiting for the right chance to strike.
They had Matt Smith play somebody in the later Star Wars movies that they then pulled. So he was filmed and he was playing somebody, and some people do believe he could have been playing somebody related to the whole Mortis story of the son or something.
I think the Mortis stuff is like that happened.
Is a Whovian the same thing as a Jedi, or is he more like Q on Star Trek? Snaps this. Doctor Who, Matt Smith.
Oh,
come on, man.
No, from Morbius.
Oh wow!
Now, who would they get to play Dash Rendar if they were to do a live action?
Kiefer Sutherland.
They get?
Kiefer Sutherland.
15 years ago, I would have told you Damian
20
Lewis.
years ago, maybe, yeah.
Previously on.
Previously on. Someone did an awesome...
if we could get Kurt Russell from his, like, Snake Plissken days.
Oh.
That's the vibe I get.
Wyatt.
From
Then we get
Dash
Wyatt.
Rendar with that hair.
I would go with Kurt Russell now, actually.
What they'd actually do right now is Tom Holland. Not saying that's a good idea, but that's what they do.
It would be Timothy Chalamet because they're just like,
oh my God.
we just go with whoever's number one.
I know. I mean, that's the thing is, I'd rather have Wyatt Russell because I feel like his U.S. agent isn't really going anywhere after Thunderbolts. So it's like they still got him on contract. So it's like, okay, you're done with U.S. agent.
Yeah, Wyatt. Wyatt could work.
I'm thinking Sebastian Shaw could
that's what I was thinking. You could have, from Thunderbolts,
Or you could do like Denzel Washington just to piss off the internet. Like,
there you
he's
go.
not black, and it's like it's a fictional character. You freaks.
Are you a Jedi or are you a sheep?
Oh, maybe they can get Morgan Freeman.
Oh yeah, there you go. I did actually make a random poster one time, making it look like Patrick Stewart and Morgan were Jedi and Sith guys fighting.
Oh, nice.
I'm sorry, that dude knows how to wear a cape.
I did see that someone had said that the events of Zardos take place on January 1st, 2025.
Oh,
so
wow.
That could be a crossover. We're pretty close.
My sister has actually named her car Zardoz. So, I mean, there you go. Star Wars, Battlefield Earth.
Yeah, there's the crossover.
Forrest Whitaker.
And me without my booty shorts and my suspenders.
There you go. Booty shorts.
I was wondering why you didn't have your video on.
Oh, that's for his OnlyFans. You're not supposed to see that.
That's right. You got to pay extra for that content,
That's right.
listeners.
Yeah,
multitasking.
Multitasking. Whoa.
Well, people have often told me that I have a face for radio, so
it's a shame
Never
that
do a job for free.
I do it for free. I do want them to bring back Oliphant's sheriff.
Yeah, he's clearly alive.
Yeah. They left him there so they can bring him back. I mean, that would
They
be
stuck
great.
him in
Cobb
the back
Vanth.
tank of memories. He's
But
fine.
but I'd be cool if they actually kill him off for good. And he's like, I was meant to, always
They won't
protect you.
though.
No.
They'll bring him back if they can afford him later.
Just to be like,
If they
you're
can
dead.
afford him. No, that's a good point.
I loved it. I don't know because I don't think I've ever seen him. Oh no, I've seen him in a couple of things, but I love he's so typecast. But I'm here for it. When you see him, you're like, he's going to be a badass sheriff type guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what he is. That's just who he does best.
Think about it.
He's the best at it.
Oliphant's a badass. He just is.
I mean,
just is,
if you want to expand on someone and have them actually just be a badass, properly use them, I'm okay with that. Like, Danny Trejo was the Rancor Keeper. Actually give him a name and have him have an actual Jedi sword or some shit, or he could be like Grievous, where he's still
very
from
simple.
Jedi.
You want Danny Trejo to be a Jedi?
Please.
No, he'd be a Sith.
With the light machine.
Okay, he can be a Sith.
He'd be a bounty hunter. It's the third most common
that's
job
why I was
in
saying the General
universe.
Grievous thing. Where
He'd be the Lobo of Star Wars.
Didn't they
Lobo?
Didn't they introduce that though
And I
in
fucking
Shed
hate
Kills
Lobo.
at the end?
Because he fights in space.
Yeah, he's got light machetes. He's so
might as well
awesome.
build on that. But what I'm getting at is they can make him be like General Grievous, where he just kills Jedi and then takes their sabers and fucks around with them.
Yeah. The first Star Wars horror film, I think.
David Ayer wanted to do that years ago. He wanted to do one where
there's some legends. There's some legends stuff, like zombie type.
Or maybe a crossover with Aliens.
I can't remember the name
Aliens
of it.
would be great. They did do zombie stormtroopers.
Whatever it is,
Ahsoka,
Han Solo and Chewbacca show up in the zombie Star Wars.
I guess Rise of Skywalker is pretty horrifying.
Yeah.
Suck it, nerds.
I honestly think
that was the best one.
Is that a George Lucas?
I don't think Disney's ever going to do this, and I think it's too late for them. They should have done it, but I really think they should have, rather than having a lot of these different shows that have 8 or 9 episodes, and we all kind of go, oh, episode this was good, episode that was good, but it overstayed its welcome. I really wish they kind of would just see, like, this is the Star Wars show, and they just got like different directors and writers to do different things.
So
and
like
you kind of get like a mixed bag every week.
Like some sort of holiday special.
Serious. Like
I'm liking this.
After that Lego holiday
like,
special,
there's certain ideas that we can cannibalize for good reasons, and maybe one of those episodes is a 30-minute animated movie, and you could have some of the actors do voices, so you don't have to worry about putting them in like old age or young age makeup.
Pixar presents.
Right.
I'm just saying, it's just
Star
like,
Wars Toy Story edition.
Yeah, I just like, rather than just us going like, wasn't that cool when that happened? It's like there are.
It'd be a different timeline each
when
week,
I came
kind of like
into
the Outer Limits.
Yeah, when I came into Star Wars as a kid,
what if?
I didn't have any like prejudices of like what I wanted or this and that. This is what Star Wars is. This is what it isn't. I was open to a lot of ideas, and it sucks that there was those toxic people online when the new movies came out that were just like no, and then you beat them into a pulp where they now all our IP franchises are narrow thin. It has to follow the same 4 main characters, or we start everything's a backdoor pilot to another thing, and they just test audience.
Well, it sucks that like they weren't right, those people, like in what they thought, but they ended up being right because they had no fucking plan.
Yeah,
so they accidentally got right.
Yeah.
They're still not right. They suck. They're fuck them.
Yeah.
But they can be like, "Hey, we're right because this sucked." Well, no,
you
just had no fucking plan. You had no
fulfilling
plan. How do you
it.
buy something for billions of dollars and have no fucking plan?
Yeah.
No, that's true too.
Yeah.
I mean, outlining goes a long way. I always hate it when I hear
Just
a
have a
showrunner.
plan. Have a plan. It's not that hard.
Just like the Death
Just do
Star.
it.
Have
If
a
I
plan.
spent billions of dollars on something, you're goddamn right I'd have a plan.
I mean, at least know how it begins and ends. Fill in the blanks.
But it makes those assholes like be like, "Hey, we have some legitimacy." No,
well,
you
that's
don't.
why
You
I
still
think they
suck.
need to change
You
the
still
leadership.
suck. You're still terrible.
Right.
But
Yeah, you just got to flesh out more of the Nazi fans, but also like the leadership, like giving how
what a statement that is.
Flesh out the Nazi fans.
Have you been on the
You
forums?
just gotta flesh out the Nazi fans.
Well, there are.
Did you like Rise of
Take out the
Skywalker?
change the leadership.
You're out.
Well, no.
Have you seen Birth of a Nation?
I'm
really offended at what you have just said.
I'm offended by what you said, but no, I just mean just the ones who were getting all sexist, racist about characters. Is like
Yes,
that's
of
not
course.
why they suck.
No, of
it's because they're
course.
not well written. My God, but
No,
I
it's because there's no content. There's no through line. It's
Right.
just
Yeah.
it's 3 films that were
Well,
made
absolutely. They're showing
completely
their double
independent of one
standards, but-
another, and they make no sense together.
Well, yeah, but that's why though they reacted because Ryan Johnson was supposed to have the back too, and they were like,
Right.
"Wait a second, Korean women? No, we're out of here."
Right.
This fantasy universe has
He
gotten
also-
way out of control.
He also just made a boring movie. Like he didn't make a good movie.
Maybe they could have gone. They could have gone
Like
the
I'm
Dune
not
direction.
I'm not one of those douchebag like Rise of Skywalker. They screwed everything up. It's just it wasn't. It was a boring movie.
Didn't know if it was an art
Rise of
house.
They
Skywalker was just a
separated
bad
characters
movie.
that had
But Aaron was gonna
chemistry.
say something.
Like, why would you separate Poe
yeah.
and Finn?
Hey, Ron.
They had a crazy amount of chemistry, so let's split them off to do nothing.
Right.
A-aron,
Like, it was
what
just
were you
a,
saying?
it's
Yeah, well,
bad move. That's
I
bad
was just-
filmmaking.
I was
It
just thinking
is.
they could have
Right.
gone the Dune direction, right?
They
And they
should've.
could have had. Okay, so you
Hard
have
sci-fi.
Vader is the chosen one, and he just keeps getting killed off and then cloned and and has another adventure, gets killed
That would
off,
be way more
cloned again.
interesting than.
And
by the way,
It's a bummer.
and you could keep the same guy throughout the entire franchise.
Don't give Disney any ideas. They would love to do that.
Oh, believe me, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Therefore, Disney will not adopt it.
Yeah,
that is true.
There you go. So,
well, they
prevented that one.
Have the guy sacrifice
They cast
himself
it
for no
well.
reason.
Yeah, they cast it well.
Like the actors.
Speaking of Timothy
great.
Chalamet.
Yep, there you go. There you go. He could be a good.
I was actually thinking, Aaron, when you first said Dune, I thought you meant the John Lynch. Like, what if they went art house with the Star Wars film?
Oh, right.
There you go.
We'll have one wild one where it's like, use that Star Wars language, but go nuts with some art director.
Have
John Lynch back.
Snoke is floating in like a big tank of like spice. I mean, they have spice, right? Same
Spice
thing.
and everything nice.
It kind of does the same thing.
Because Lucas stole
green champagne.
Yeah,
He really did.
Green champagne. In a goblet floating around in a big vat of spice.
Oh my God.
I'm now realizing that the drink is Uranian brandy. Does that mean it's from Uranus?
Uranus.
Ooh.
Maybe.
No, it can't be because it'd have to be brown.
Oh, how do you know? No, just kidding.
no, what am I drinking?
Well, I was young, drunken, in love.
Oh,
What do you think Coca-Cola
More
is?
to the point,
Yeah,
guys, going back to
Coca-Cola.
the-
I love it.
Going back to the idea of the plan,
There's
I
a
know
plan?
there was one a long time
Silence
ago.
had it.
And a long
There
time
wasn't.
ago.
There clearly wasn't.
I know. It got
But
spaced out.
back when, here's the thing: when Star Wars really took off, Lucas was really a micromanager when it came to stuff in the canon.
Timothy
Yeah.
John, can I take your idea, please?
I mean,
Yeah,
yes and no. I mean,
yeah, but for a long time, he had to have the final say on what became canon, what did not.
Right. And there were certain
And,
things you just could not write about or talk about.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
Like,
the only things he said you couldn't write about was the Clone Wars.
right.
Like he let everything else just fucking go.
Hey,
Like all the EU legends, all that. He just said whatever. He didn't read it. There's no way he looked at it.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I think when he started to kind of take his hands off the reins was when the prequels came out. That was more.
Well, it was honestly, it was Shadows of the Empire. He saw, there's some more I can milk from this.
Right.
This works.
Well, this talk
There's
about having
money
a
to
plan.
make
This
here.
was extremely planned. This
Yeah.
was.
It was
multimedia blitz.
It was to see if the prequels would work.
Right.
It was everything.
Is there still
we'll
a fan
throw
base
you
out there?
everything except for a movie, and if we make money off this, we're gonna make fucking money off of a movie.
And
Yeah,
you know what's often
and if they
forgotten
had
is,
any
like,
question
This
about
was a
whether-
trial. It was a trial.
if they had any questions about the staying power of Star Wars, they could have just looked at the early '90s. You had for the Super Nintendo, you had 3 Star Wars Star Wars games. You had
People were hungry for it.
Like as good of a businessman as
TIE
he
Fighter
is,
was
he's
made great.
wildly misunderestimated like what people fucking wanted.
Well,
Like, we
that's
clearly all wanted more Star Wars. Make more Star Wars, man.
But that's the other thing too. I mean, everyone assumes you're a businessman and you know what you're doing. It's like people luck out. That doesn't mean that they knew how had an exit strategy. They probably didn't.
I'm
But
also
still,
in the
this was
camp
cool,
of
though.
thinking he's not a genius. I think his
He caught
ex-wife,
lightning in a bottle.
his ex-wife saved that first movie.
She really did,
Yes.
and it's
And
isn't it
And
so
guess what?
funny?
He didn't direct the other two. Ernie
Right?
Kirshner directed the second one.
And
who also
Kirshner's
directed
amazing.
RoboCop 2, who I fucking love. I love
Kirshner's
Kirshner.
amazing.
Love Kirshner.
Yeah.
And then he took
the
a
king of the
bland
sequels.
director who basically he bossed around the whole time and did all the reshoots. He made him his
Yeah,
puppet
he
almost.
had some German guy to come in that he could tell what to do.
And then he had Roger Christian be a second unit director on that and Phantom Menace. So then it's just like, geez. So after he did the art designs on the original, so it
Yeah,
and Christian's
and also
the same
all
way.
of his ideas are derivative, but whatever. I still love Star Wars. Fuck it.
Oh no!
Hey, isn't it? Have you
Just
guys
saying? Like,
have you guys ever met?
He
people-
he didn't have an original idea. He didn't
No.
really do anything. He made a shit movie that his ex-wife saved in the edit.
right.
THX 1138 is pretty good, even though that's obviously Plato's
That sounds very
stuff.
The
cyberpunk.
original, not like the actual.
I mean, that's what was cool about Andor is when they were in that prison. Like that is a total THX tribute. I mean,
Andor's awesome. Andor is so fucking good. Andor starts in a whorehouse.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I have a lot of fun with it.
Fucking insane.
I'm not crazy about the main actor, but it's a very cool story. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And that's what they should be doing is like, hey, let's get talented people to tell a story in this sandbox of a universe that's super interesting that people love. Let's make shit around it.
I will say, and it's funny because the Star Wars Minute guys, they were saying that it's wild to think the Star Wars show that didn't have a lightsaber until the very last part of the very last episode. But I was like, but that was actually my biggest complaint about Andor, even though I know that's not what we're talking about here, is that there was such a lack of aliens in the damn thing that you were like, am I even watching Star Wars? I'm just watching a good show.
Yeah,
very true.
But that's why I didn't care. Because I was like, this is
some reason
good.
Takes place in the Star Wars universe,
really
I guess.
fucking good.
Yeah.
Look, I've never cared about lightsabers. I don't give a shit about lightsabers.
No, they meant that positively.
You know what my favorite character was from the first movie? Wedge. Like, I don't give a fuck about lightsabers.
Who would have guessed he'd be the uncle of freaking Obi-Wan actor Ian McGregor? I would have never guessed in a million years.
And I remember,
I love that connection of he's like, don't do it, Ewan. Don't do it. It'll ruin your career.
Also, like that there's like 3 different Wedge Antilles because it's like 2 different body actors and one other person.
In the first movie, it's just like some dude that's weird looking and smooth.
And who would have guessed that half the deleted scene characters would still be canonized? You know, like Big Star Glider is barely in the first movie, and then he's blown up, and you're like, why does Luke care about him? Oh, that's right, they hung out.
He's got shafted. That's like one of the few things of the special edition that I love is like those extra scenes you see.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are so good. Like, how the fuck were those not included?
Yeah,
because then you give a shit about him.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Because he had. I tell you why. It's because the actor who played Porkins, his agent was really good.
Well, he was supposed to be a pig man, by the way.
That's right. Porkins. Yeah.
He was supposed to have like prosthetics and be a pig man.
He totally was.
And Porkins. George Lucas famous for his naming conventions. Like you always hear stories like he had the name long before he wrote the character. And it's like, yeah, I can see that, buddy. Clearly.
I mean, the fact that Chewbacca was like a weird lizard type creature or some shit like that. And you're like,
Dash Rendar was supposed to be like a scrubby, like lizard type, like shitty piece of shit, nothing.
The comics like, definitely you get to see all the bounty hunters. That's where you get
let's just make him Han Solo with shoulder pads.
And you get the explanation of how Leia got Bush's armor in the comic as well.
Yeah.
So, any listeners, I'm just curious because I don't know if I can actually try and remember or try and piece together the timeline, which I know, as we've mentioned before, doesn't work. But it basically takes place in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and it involves.
Now there's no canon between there.
Yeah.
That's
honestly,
what we're talking about here.
The major story is, I guess, because they really couldn't do anything that really mattered. None of it really matters. A lot of it is kind of in the modern Disney mold of just explaining how things.
Can we just get beyond Thunderdome
in the background?
And lots of rehashed plot devices, like hiding in the fleet, like next to and the rebels got the Death Star plans again, and
Kyle Katarn got the Death Star plans, by the way.
Yeah,
Dark Forces 1. He ran into, in the first level, he ran into this stupid 3D model that wasn't a 3D model, and he got them.
In the comic, they also said
so convoluted. Is like
they're like 20 Bothans died, and it's like
12 Bothans.
And I'm like, that just seems like you don't really understand the stakes of war. It's like, what about those 20 Bothans? I was like, I'm sorry, Bothans really rare. Why are we so upset about them?
But they had to like rehash that whole line from Mon Mothma and in Return of the So let's reference that. Okay,
it's like they not only rewrote their own history, but then you're like, so who actually got the credit? Did someone get a career promotion?
Constantly rewriting. Like that's the whole thing. It's like it's become its own.
I think Kyle used
Kyle
needs to use a Jedi mind trick and say, I deserve the credit, motherfucker.
We'll return after these messages. If you like small town mystery, crazy news, and wild history, then the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast is for you. Each week, Josh Mills and Wayne McCarty bring you the absolute best Florida has to offer. So if you're looking for a show that's safe for the family, but funny enough to help you escape everyday life, then listen to the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast. That's Florida Men, plural, on Florida Man podcast.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and foodie debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
I know that a few of the video game characters have been referenced, making them canon.
Dash is technically canon.
He was mentioned in a solo,
not necessarily what he did.
We see his ship,
and also Shizor is canon too. He shows up. At
is that how you say his name?
I mean, that's how I say it. I don't know.
Well, I'm sorry. In the video
Shizor.
game, how do they say it? That's what I was going to ask you guys.
I thought it was Zizor.
Because I played the N64, so I've never heard it said.
I'll go with Hans because that sounds more fancy.
Well, we can make canon.
He exists.
If no one else has said it.
Release the Zizor
exists
cut.
in the Phantom Menace. He's walking up the stairs at the pod race.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the Outrider shows up in New Hope.
Han Solo. Oh, does it?
It also shows up.
It's
a Carillion freighter, just like the Millennium Falcon. It shows up in Rebels.
Oh, God damn it. Now I'm mad. Why did the Mandalorian now fly a Naboo? That doesn't make any sense for a bounty hunter. God damn it. I forgot about that. I got mad again.
No.
Wait, what?
He flew the Naboo one because that was what was in Space Strangers with Candy's shop.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, as a bounty hunter, that's not a good ship to have.
Yeah, Amy Sedaris. Sorry, I was like,
but like,
Amy
it's not a good, that's what I'm saying. It's not a good ship to have as a bounty hunter.
It's a one-seater. Yeah, it would be like
impractical.
Yeah, he's like, I do construction for a living. What do you drive? A Porsche 911. What the fuck are you?
It's a shame that like it'd been funnier.
You should drive a fucking panel van.
It's upsetting.
You should drive the van.
My job is to take people
from Spaceballs.
My job is to get people from one place to another.
There you go.
Okay, so I have the world's smallest ship.
It'd be interesting.
A guy he was chasing had a souped up Naboo starfighter, and now the episode is the Mandalorian going, how do I catch it? That's like, how do I catch a Naboo starfighter? It goes 10 times faster than mine. And that would have been an episode.
Yeah,
I always got the sense that he was relying too much on Grogu, the baby Yoda, to do the talking. It's like, if I get outnumbered, can you just use the Force to make those ships?
Well, I mean,
blow
he's
up?
the dumbest bounty hunter of all time. He's just invincible. Like
I wouldn't say he's dumb. I would say
every
trouble finds
single
him.
shot. Like, he doesn't have any thought.
Oh, I see. You're saying he's not like he's not necessarily dumb because he does sort of
not cerebral.
He's not tactical.
Yeah, he plods his
He's
way.
just like, I can yeet every fucking thing you throw at me because I'm invincible.
Yeah, he's got
Also, I have this little gremlin who can be whatever I need.
It's not
Use the
ET
babies.
inspired. It's totally
Destroy
Gizmo
you
from
all.
Gremlins inspired.
I'm going to give him credit because that's how I play video games. Because I'm like, oh, there's a stealth section. Screw that. I'm coming in 2 guns. I don't have the patience for this.
This is not a knock on him. I love it.
To everybody's point, I think he's more of a Judge Dredd type. Like, trouble finds him, and he just.
Okay.
To be fair, I think that's just part of the formulaic universe in which he resides in. He's definitely more stealthy than Boba, who got eaten by a fucking, Sarlacc.
I also love that Pedro Pascal has never been on set for 2 years.
Right.
Good for him.
He's only in the scenes where he's looking
that
towards
dude
the
is getting
camera.
bags all over the place. He's like, hey, here's my Marvel bag. Here's my Star Wars bag. Here's my HBO bag.
Here's my cocaine bag. Yeah.
Whoever is the does the body doubling for him definitely is went to the Tom Hardy of I'm gonna cover my face and still do amazing acting.
Yeah, because you can't tell.
Basically.
He was not in season 3. He wasn't.
No,
right. Just doing the dubbing. Yep.
And he was in what, 2 episodes of the first 2 seasons?
Yeah, he was doing Last of Us.
He was in more Boba Fett, I think.
He really was.
I think you're right.
Yeah. They filmed that on the side, and he was like, "I'm gonna be on a key plot arc, so I need to be there."
Which is fucked up. Like, I liked those scenes, but it was also like, what are we doing? Like, this is not this.
I took it as a side quest, but I understand that it took its time a little too much. So, I mean,
like, I enjoyed those episodes, but like, what are we doing? Like, that's not Boba Fett. Like, what? Like, we have a Boba Fett show.
I figured they just wanted to give him a moment in the sun instead of just, the actor's back.
The only good news I have right now is that Saber Interactive that recently did Space Marine 2, which was a pretty good hit.
Yeah.
They are working on the remake of Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, really?
No way.
Ooh, is that who's doing it now?
Yeah, that's the latest news, I think, as of like this fall.
Because that was supposed to be like something, and then it wasn't.
I like the Fallen Order games. I haven't played Star Wars Outlaws. I've heard mixed, but I'm sure I will play it. I'm sure, but I like the Jedi
Fallen Order games.
Fallen Order, or what are they both called? Yes. Jedi Survivor, I should say.
Survivor and Fallen Order.
Yeah.
The Jedi.
Those are amazing.
Those are good games.
Is Acolyte before Knights and Fallen or after?
And the actor who plays Cal Kestis is
the guy from
actual actor.
Yeah, yes, he's the gay guy from.
I mean, he's gonna show up
with Shameless.
Yeah, he's gonna show up and like he'll probably show up in the Mandalorian and Krogan.
He probably will. But
Cameron, what was your question?
Yeah, sorry.
So Acolyte is after Old Republic and Fallen Order.
Okay.
Or before?
So Acolyte is in the New Republic era. It's before the sequels, after the original series. Fallen Order takes place before the original 3.
The original 3. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
It's like immediate.
Yeah.
The first one.
Because he's not allowed. He was there when Order 66 went down.
He was a Padawan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's actually really fucking cool, like, to see like what happened to him and everything.
Right.
Fucking cool.
Yeah, it's cool. He started like a shipbreaker.
They even had Lassie from Psych doing some voiceovers. So, I mean, yeah.
Cal Kestis is a great character.
Yeah.
And I was trying to remember because we were talking about people who've been made canon, and I can't remember because in the I remember it was Acolyte or one of them. They're running through a bunch of names, and I was like, "Ooh, are they going to say his?" Or it's like,
but Darth Plagueis is canon, but did he appear in Old Republic?
Plagueis is canon.
Plagueis, as far as I know, has never made an appearance even in any of the cartoons.
Oh, so there you go.
No, he hasn't.
He's definitely canon because he has his own book.
Plagueis,
and he's mentioned.
Yeah,
in
but I think the Plagueis book.
You know?
I don't think the Plagueis book is actually canon.
Oh, I think anything that's been
right. But guys,
it should be because the Plagueis book is
time.
The Plagueis book should be because it's fucking incredible.
Oh, go ahead,
Hans. I'm going to use a force joke. Remember, he's mentioned in dialogue in Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
Yeah, he's canon for that reason, but I don't think the Plagueis novel is canon anymore.
Okay.
I thought the rules were that as long as
it should be. That's the show Disney Plus should make is the Plagueis novel show. It's fucking awesome.
Cause the destruction of the universe.
Awesome.
Now, has anyone read, since we are ostensibly talking about Shadows of the Empire, so I did the comics. I played a little bit of the game, but I mostly know the comics and the Micro Machines toys, of course. Has anyone read the novelization? I swear I had, because at that time I had read everything. At least I thought I had. But then when I was reading the synopsis, I was like, wait a second, I don't think I've read this freaking thing. Or maybe it just washed from my memory. Disney pressed a button and wiped it.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Shadows of the Empire novel, if you're that's what you're talking about, I listened to the audiobook of it last summer. And
whoa.
It's mostly Dash Rendar POV. The only hook of that is
Vader POVs are awesome.
I mean, of course.
I would bet.
Because that's like the only time you get that. It's so good.
Yeah, the what you were joking about earlier, Cliff, was that like at the end when he blows up the skyhook, he does fake his death. So he doesn't get any heat from the Empire, and he like goes low level so the rebels don't contact him. So that's how he writes himself out of the plot. Him and Levo like go and do that, and he fake their.
I'm looking it up now.
It's funny too because they literally. I'll find the page and send it into the group because they literally said something like, "Why don't you join us?" And he's like, "No. I've got my own things to do, and it's very vague. And they're like, that guy, he's in.
You'll love this. You'll love this. So Anthony Held, the Broadway guy, you've seen him in X-Men and the Hannibal Lecter movies, Deep Rising, and as the judge on Boston Legal.
Love Deep Rising.
Yep. Oh, well, so remember the guy, the asshole billionaire who orchestrated this whole robbery scheme and tried to play innocent. So he's the narrator, apparently, of Shadows of the Empire. So that's wild.
Of the audiobook. That's really neat.
Yes.
So yeah, so I'm trying to figure out, like, I understand the basic plot, and it really is just that I think the main motivating force is this is them searching for a new base or just for funding, and that's why they're dealing with Shizor.
There's a lot of like, we're trying to get Han Solo back.
Yeah, that's like
trying to stop this.
That's the Boba Fett plot.
This other threat of the Black Sun that could maybe be bigger than the Empire, but
basically,
clearly not.
They're trying to. It's a bit of that, but it's also a bit of Saboteur stuff. They're trying to follow Boba's pursue him.
It's a lot of trying to get Han Solo back
instead of just ambushing him as he's coming to Jabba's palace. They're just kind of trying to
where he's going. Just go there, man.
They're just trying to stay in the underworld.
Just go there
with their disguise.
You know where he's going. Just go there.
But
and there's because there's the subplot of
send a couple
mentioned earlier
there.
that Shizor was actually secretly plotting against Vader, which had already been written, that same plot line in the Thrawn books, because the little creature that he kept with him that kept him immune from like the Force or whatever.
Of all the creatures.
That
was actually his bodyguard who killed him because he had killed his race.
Yes. Oh my God.
And I'm like,
we
know
just
this.
Gonna recycle Timothy Zahn stuff. I get it. Timothy Zahn, man, that guy should be so fucking rich. I don't know, man. He's not getting money from any of
I don't know. I saw him. I met him at Comic-Con, not San Diego either, Tampa Bay Comic-Con. And I was talking to him about, Star Wars, as you do. And he was clearly like, I've got a new book. So I bought his new book. And I was like, yeah, and he signed it.
He didn't want to talk about
because I was like, okay, now can we talk Star Wars? I know you don't want to just be remembered for this. But I'm like, but that tells me he's not obscenely wealthy. Because you don't do the circuit unless you have to. No one wants to talk to sweaty nerds.
Like he's put so much fucking out there that's
Kevin J. Anderson's made money, but it's mainly from helping out the Herbert estate on Dune, versus the Star Wars and X-Files tie-in books.
He's the one you go to if you're doing this sort of thing.
There's some other great female writers.
He just writes shit and he's like, fine, I did this, whatever, moving on.
You're right.
He was definitely my favorite from that era.
Absolutely.
I loved his books.
It was the best.
Did you ever read...
he brought everything back. It was like, I give a shit about Star Wars again.
Absolutely. Did you guys... He was one of the big ones that got it all in perspective and showed how he could make it stand on its own 2 feet. I
think that was a precursor, like the Thrawn trilogy was a precursor to Shadows of the Empire, because it was like, people give a shit again. Yep. Okay, let's try this other thing that's slightly more ramped up. Okay, that worked. Let's do the prequels.
And they're good sci-fi writers to begin with. They're more sci-fi than Star Wars ever dared to be. So, did you guys ever follow
Steve Perry?
Well, yeah.
The lead singer of Journey?
Yeah.
I wish.
You ever seen Basketball? That's a psycho.
I see what you did there.
Perry.
Steve Perry.
No more Journey psych-outs.
Don't stop believing in the Force. But yeah, Claudia Gray has written some good ones, especially for
she's done some good clone stuff.
Princess Leia stuff, other stuff involving the Rebels.
Yeah, and I haven't read too many of the new ones. Like I said, I was really into it like up in the 90s. I forget, was it you, Dave, who said when you were born? I was born in 77, about a month before the first movie came out. So this has been in my blood. I saw Return of the Jedi actually in theaters, and it was one of the first ones I remembered. I remember they had a poster where he's got the lightsaber up and he's holding Leia, and it's very much a Conan homage. And I remember telling my dad, like, I want to go see that, and he's like, all right.
He was like, and were you expecting something involving the Muppets?
Well, no, because remember, I saw that one first as a kid.
Right.
And
but
so
I figured you mistaken.
And so I keep in mind, as a 6-year-old, I wouldn't have known, understood that things were out of order or whatever.
Right.
You know,
that's what I mean. I just figured you would think it's a Disney thing because there's all these teddy bears.
Oh no, I actually wasn't at that time. Remember, it's like, someone described it once. These Star Wars films, especially the prequels, as the most expensive independent films ever made because
they really were.
It was just him funding it.
They were cock blocking any SAG-AFTRA person from joining.
The prequels more than anything because he
cost $1 million. Yeah,
he funded the originals, but he didn't have as big of a hand in it. But he was everything. He wrote them. He directed everything in the prequels.
Worse than his diabetes.
To the detriment.
Absolutely. And
for better or worse.
It divided the fan base.
There's actually a lot of really good stuff in it, but man, he fucking sucks at dialogue, dude.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can talk about trade disputes, I'm all for it. That gets people hooked.
Honestly,
this is the West Wing Star Wars edition.
Bother me. It's just the fucking love story. Like, have you ever met a woman?
Or lack thereof, yeah.
Like, have you met a woman before? Have you ever talked to one?
Oh, and
I guess not. I guess not because your wife, Marshall Lucas, divorced you.
I can't remember.
Actually was the best editor of the fucking... That's what made the original Star Wars. So maybe, you have not met a woman.
Well, and how ridiculous how he offered it to Ron Howard, and then Ron was like, I don't think I could do this, and then he comes back in finally to do that.
He wanted Spielberg to do Jedi.
Spielberg's like, I can't touch it. It's like,
no, you know why he couldn't touch it? It was because union shit. Because the union, the SAG or whatever, was like, hey, you have like the credits before the movie. Fuck you, no, you can't do that.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
He goes, hey, sit and spin, and he says, fuck off.
Much like Rodriguez, he is all about, if you don't let me do what I want, then I'm not going to do this.
And I respect the shit out of that.
Spielberg did, however,
also Irvin Kershner, a god, he needs more credit.
Kershner has some good stuff. He's got some plot.
He has more than some good stuff. He made the best Star Wars movie. He did not make the best RoboCop movie, but he made the second best RoboCop movie.
I mean, of the three.
He made one of the worst James Bond movies. But anyway,
I don't care. Kershner, I love Kershner, and God rest his soul. He's a star in my.
He's done some good stuff.
Not to plug
he's done some amazing stuff.
Podcasts on your own, Cam. But if you go to Star Wars Minute, and they have every April Fools, they were doing.
Oh my God,
like a fake one. You know, they would do like a minute of a different movie, and they did. What was it? What was the urban? Was it? Which Bond one did he do?
Never Say Never Again.
Never Say Never Again. So they do Never Say Never Again minute, like as a spoof, and they have two guys on. Dave, was it you? I don't know. Maybe it was, but
I love him so much.
And one guy's doing an Irvin Kershner impression, and it's laugh out loud funny.
I would bet.
I don't even know how
and he's like,
very gruff man. Yeah,
it's amazing. I highly recommend it if you want to get a good laugh.
I will. I was following some of what they were doing in the Star Wars Minute.
I love Kershner so much, man. He's
I got no beef with him. He's good. Anyway, but it's so funny how you guys were bringing up.
He made two of the greatest sequels ever. Mm-hmm. He made RoboCop 2. He made
great sequels.
He made Empire. Like
some of the best improv ever.
Best. Incredible.
I mean, and it's so funny how that's finally where Kasten's dialogue is way better. All the stuff on the Force is way deeper than anyone else could go. And
in Empire, like Kershner, just like I mean, just the Han Solo like carbonite scene. He's like, I know. We did it like 50 fucking times with the dialogue that was written and it didn't work. And he goes, hey, Harrison, do whatever you want to do. And he goes, I know. There you go.
Right.
There it is.
There it is. The only dialogue that doesn't work in that for me is the scruffy looking nerf herder. That's where it goes in the
because it sounds really racist.
No, just because it's stupid. Like, what does that mean?
No, I love that. That's in-world racism.
I thought it was just I thought it was just a stupid
it's
name.
Star Wars racism.
I think sand people is the most racist term.
Oh my God.
Those are native Tatooiners whose land you are on.
Every time I hear sand people, I'm like, ugh.
Is Sand People the NRA in 500 years? I don't know.
Sand People is seriously
native Tatooine.
That's fucking
Hatfields and McCoys. Sand People edition.
Just don't have Randy Newman write a theme song for the Sand People.
Getting some Sand People.
Sand People got no reason.
Now you want me to look up that Mad TV Randy Newman scores Star Wars skit. But it is wild too how, Sam Jackson was able to get through all that SAG-AFTRA disputes, and Spielberg did direct the Revisions of the Sith opening. Is like, yeah, so this is Saving Private Ryan in space.
Wait, Spielberg?
He directed the opening of Revenge of the Sith, but was uncredited. He just came in one day and.
He did?
So in the chat, I went ahead and put in the Dash Rendar, him saying, you guys are on your own, and then his death scene, which I also find extremely funny because not only he's like, dang, he almost made it, they immediately changed the subject. They're like, so I guess Sizer's dead or whatever.
Yeah. That's the other thing, too.
Shizer also in Legends lived, by the way.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
Spider legs.
Spider legs, yes.
Everyone gets spider legs at one point.
Everybody gets spider legs. If it's not the hologram.
That's the saying. In the past, in the future, everyone gets 15 minutes of fame. In the past, everyone gets spider legs.
Gets spider
legs, but they're also lightsabers.
There you go. It's either that or Spider-Man's a Jedi. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it is wild how the video game keeps him ambiguous. The comic is ambiguous.
I mean, we haven't talked about the video game, but that opening.
But the book kind of is also.
I feel like I've been focusing on the comics, but yeah, video game definitely.
That opening scene where you're in a snowspeeder.
It's amazing.
And you can wrap up the fucking AT-AT. That was so incredible. That broke my little 13-year-old mind.
Without that, you don't get the Rogue Squadron games.
It was so good.
Oh, they also did it in another Nintendo 64. I think. Remember those Impossibly Hard? Maybe they were Super Nintendo on 64.
I think you're right.
Super
I think it was
Nintendo,
Super
Impossibly
Nintendo.
Hard Star Wars games. But
it was but that was you couldn't wrap it around though.
It just would not do it unless you
that was
had
the
all
Mode 7 bullshit.
It was very much.
We thought racing. We thought action games that had a racing level were hard. Is this is really hard. Get your brother to help you out on this.
Yeah, I think Star Wars Explained said every single Star Wars game has had a Hoth. Hoth.
Oh, even the Atari 2600.
They're all trying to recapture that Shadows of the Empire because that first level is fucking incredible. The rest of the game is kind of whatever.
Right. It's just beat up a giant monster or robot.
It's N64 schlock, whatever. It's fine with Star Wars music over the top, so it feels better.
Jedi.
But that first level was incredible. You're flying around, you're wrapping up AT-ATs, you're shooting AT-STs, you're fucking up probe droids. It doesn't matter. You can fly through their goddamn legs.
Right. You can go underneath it without blowing up your speeder.
That's what I mean. That was crazy. That broke my brain.
You could shoot at the actual head of the AT.
You could do anything. It felt like anything was possible. It wasn't, but
is that where we stand on that, Cam? You're an AT-AT person. I'm an AT-AT person. I know that some people say AT-AT, and then some people are purists that say Imperial Walkers because that's the only thing they're ever called.
It's AT-AT. What do you call the Scout Walkers?
Chicken legs?
Chicken walkers.
Chicken walkers.
I've
me
heard
too,
the
You call them AT-STs.
Right.
So they're AT-AT.
I know it because remember, for me and anyone in my age, we knew the toys more than we knew anything else. So the toys, which remember was a big part of Shadows of the Empire. See,
yes, it was
the toys that came out. You got
great toys.
You got you got Sizor, you got Dash Rendar, you got IG-88.
I'm a big proponent of hey, whatever you like makes you happy. I'm good with it. I don't give a shit.
Agreed.
But AT-AT and AT-AT, I will stand my fucking ground. Fuck you if that makes you happy. If that makes you happy, fuck you. Because no. Just
I thought World War III was starting.
Okay, what is AT-ST? It's an AT-ST. So what's an AT-AT? It's an AT-AT? No, it's fucking not.
AT-AT.
Sorry, I'm upset.
AT-AT's
I
fun
can
to say.
tell. And now, do you guys remember the ATPT that was in the Rogue Squadron games? That was like a
Yes.
chicken walker, but a little tinier.
Yeah.
And
No.
someone on eBay actually made their own custom toys that you could buy.
Oh,
Well,
cool.
you know what? Speaking of like weird things that were done,
2000s.
rereading the comic reminds me of a trope that I think I only saw in the comic. Maybe they did in the early books too, and it drove the shit out of me. Is they would use this sort of like phonetic spelling for R2D2 and C3PO, meaning they will call them ARTOO. R2.
Steve, so how are you not on my side?
And I agree. I'm like, it drove me nuts. I was like, just use the letter designations. I know how to say it.
Yeah.
I take it as a tomato. Yeah. I don't know.
Because for me, I grew up with AT-AT, so you're always going to stick with what you know, because you'd see the toy, you bought that.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like, it's just...
And honestly, we're both wrong.
So was that
We're
Kenner
both
that
wrong
did that?
because they're only ever called walkers.
Hans, go with your gut, man. Cliff, go with your truth. Just
yes.
Seriously, that's one of the only thing that bothers me.
Oh my god!
Everything
Of
else,
all
I'm
the
like,
things
hey,
that
man,
bother
do
you,
your
that
thing.
bothers
Like,
you.
This makes you happy. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, like this, I'm
Wow.
like, fuck you, you suck.
Oh wow!
Well, I'm not going to get mad at you, Hans, because that's how I feel about Rise of Skywalker as a whole.
Well, I feel about I don't love that either. It bugs me. So like,
It was fun. There was a lot of fun things revisiting this, Cam. And I'm glad you used this as like a topic because, we saw. I was like, oh yeah, the whole like Boosh thing, but also they disguised Chewie.
Yes.
And, he's the famous Wookiee bounty hunter, which now there is a famous Wookiee bounty hunter who is now also canon, who started from the comics.
Harrison.
Wasn't
He
there
started
one in
from the Dr.
Ahsoka,
Afra
or-
comics.
There was
What's
one
that?
in Boba Fett too, right?
Afra's
Yeah, that's the one.
Right.
Dr. Afra is awesome.
You've
Wookiee
read the
bounty
Afra
hunter
stuff?
makes an appearance in Boba Fett. Yes,
The Afra stuff is so good.
but it's funny because
It's so good.
They dress Chewbacca up. They
That
put a
was
hair
really
dye on
fun.
him, which is
Yeah,
enough,
man.
and he wears like some stuff. But he's like I forget what his name is, but it's not.
Kazakhstan or Kazakhstan.
It's not
or
the
something.
cool Black Kirsten, I think.
Yeah. It's
What were you saying, Tom?
like that.
I just said his name was Steve.
Steve, yes. Is that Chewbacca?
Yeah.
No, this is Steve. This
It's
is my
Black
cousin.
Steve.
He's just her student. Don't make fun of him. Man's Greek. What do you want me to do?
Just don't say Steve from accounting.
Yeah. You're not Chewbacca. No, your hair's a different color. We don't have that technology, so no possible
You're
way.
fucking Steve.
So I had some work done.
Yeah, and that's a funny, like Star Wars will do that too. Though everyone's name will be like Dash Rendar, and then there's Luke.
Yeah.
And it's like, excuse me?
Yeah,
right.
His name must sound so wild to like the other people in Star Wars. They're like, what kind of a fucking name is Luke? It's the strangest name I've ever heard.
What the hell is Luke even mean? But you'll love
Have a
this.
normal name.
I love it. How those-
Steve.
Steve from accounting. And don't you love how they'll sneak in profanity on occasion? Like,
oh yeah.
In the original, there's only "damn" by or get the hell out of
and
here.
then hell.
Han says hell.
Yeah,
I'll see you in
hell. I'll see it. Well, but then he's also like, "Okay, let's get the hell out of here." Or there's another line like that. But
I'll
like,
see you in hell.
I'll see you.
I
in
do
hell.
like
Okay.
that. I see you in hell. That implies
see you in
so
hell.
many things.
Christianity, yeah.
Fun stuff.
Yeah.
And that's not including the innuendo. Pretty small for a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
But
that's her brother, man.
Or from Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah, even creepier, right?
I'm coming, Big Jizz. That was from Shadows of the Empire.
I can't believe they named this character Jizz and it was a G. That must have been just someone with a Sigmine. But
No, I'll tell you. If you thought that was bad, don't even get me started on Kit Fisto.
Kit Fisto.
Oh, we know what he's into. Yeah.
Oh,
you know what he's into.
Yeah, his toy was very popular.
Much like you wonder. Much like you wonder what.
The Power Glove.
Oh my god. Man,
no micro machines for that one. I'll tell you that for free.
Coming soon.
No, nothing micro about Kit Fisto.
Right.
Oh hell no!
I forgot about that. Though.
With Kit, I'm not.
And of course the Jizz Whalers. Jizz Whaling.
It's like I wonder as a Twilight what he does with
new band name. New band name.
It has to be a band name. Kit and the you know what?
Fisto and the Jizz Whalers.
Oh my god!
What, we do Star Wars? Why are you guys so dirty?
Why? What? There you go, dirty Star Wars. But I wonder what he's doing with those tentacles on the back of his head. But much like I wonder what Goro in Mortal Kombat. Well, what does Goro in Mortal Kombat do with all four hands?
Right.
Not what Kid Fisto does.
He does
yeah, that's what Fisto does. But
it's either call a porn,
right? There's plenty of parodies of this out there. But I love how in Jedi Academy it kind of expands on the Coruscant nature of what you kind of see detailed in any other book, especially Shadows, and shows a lot of the underworld and the different clubs you infiltrate and all the Imperial spies that are still there.
Right.
But so that's literally it's deeper than the actual Shadows of the Empire book.
Well,
Coruscant, in fact, is from the expanded universe.
Right.
It was
supposed to be Had Abaddon.
Films.
It was supposed to be Had Abaddon. Coruscant wasn't the first name is Had Abaddon.
Habhabited.
The entire planet's a city.
Habhabited sounds like uninhabited. Yeah.
Lucas wanted to do an underworld show on that planet.
Wow.
With the volume, but it wasn't
are these
financially feasible.
Dave,
that's when he sold it.
For the miniature.
To Disney.
Yeah,
because he was like, I want to make. It was called 1313. It was supposed to be like a lower level on Coruscant show. There's like shots of it, like they.
So
they did
interestingly, Dave just shared some pictures from the trading card game. And Dash Rendar,
the trading card ganks, I did.
And Dash Rendar looks exactly like
I have
what's his name?
Of them over there. You want me to get them? I'll get them right now.
That picture of Dash Rendar looks like
I'm gonna get.
What's his name from Fallen Order?
Fallen Order.
The Jedi Survivor.
Oh.
Well, they both have red hair. So that part's true. Yeah, Dash Rendar does have like red hair at least.
Yeah, he looks just like he even has the 5 o'clock shadow that what's his name? I was about to say Cam, but I think it's a secret.
It's not.
Look at that.
What is his
Look at that.
Oh my god.
That's amazing.
I told you I have them.
Oh my
right
god.
Here.
Hans, we never denied that.
But
what I'm trying to get at with the miniatures is that when
nice.
They're everywhere.
When the new movies came out is right when Fantasy Flight started expanding upon the figures, and that's when they started adding in a lot of the expanded universe.
All the different toys.
Yeah. And they started going, so that's when I got in, I was like, oh, Dash Rendar's here and stuff. And I think that also re-excited me in this promise that they were going to tell more stories, expand. They were, hey, all that expanded universe stuff, we know we said it's Legends, but maybe we'll recanonize it in a different context, a different timeline.
And actually, did they use the term Legends back then? I don't think they did. I think this was
after 2016.
They have like calling it Legends is kind of brilliant because then they can pick and choose of like, hey, these are campfire stories. Like these are campfire stories. Some of it's true.
It's a tall tale.
Some of it's not. And they pick and choose like Thrawn's true. Like
allegedly a legend. Yeah.
You know, like that's actually
allegedly a legend.
That's actually kind of fucking brilliant to do it that way. I wish they would canonize more of it, but I also it's a money machine. Like, of course, like they're gonna just say, "Hey, Shadows of the Empire is actually canon now," because they can churn out whatever Disney Plus bullshit to fill that gap.
Right.
But now obviously Fantasy Flight was just trying to get a license so they could sell toys and get money, and Lucas
absolutely they jump on any bandwagon.
And so yes, but what I think was what excited me though as a fan was thinking that they're pulling from the comics, they're pulling like all the smugglers and all the bounty hunters. If they ever had to ship in a comic book, they put it in this game. So obviously all of us collectors were all buying all these ships, every type ship you could imagine, it got put in. And I think that's another reason why I kind of feel, I don't know whether we're betrayed, but disappointed that
not mad, just disappointed.
that Lucasfilm, they're just not going back to any of these ships. It's like they're cool looking ships. There is a fan base. They're in their their mid late 30s.
They slip them in here and there. Like in Ahsoka, we got an E-wing.
Right.
That is true. Yeah.
Like they drop it in like piecemeal here and there.
I don't think we saw the B-Wing until wasn't it the sequels? Because
there's a B-Wing.
No, the B-Wing is in
the B-Wing's in the
Return of the Jedi, but
there
get
is? Okay.
like an origin of the B-Wing and Rebels.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that like one of the bigger
that's where
I thought the toys only had A, Y, and X. You couldn't get a B, but you could play a B-Wing in.
There were some neat toys of the B-Wing.
In TIE Fighter and the other one.
Yeah, even X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
Thank you.
I played the fuck out of that game.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you just spun around shit.
Plenty of Y-Wings, all this other stuff that's not mentioned in universe, but you hear.
You know, what's interesting is that, you know, at least in my age, like, it's amazing to think that LucasArts as a video game studio was absolutely more profitable than anything else they were doing, like with Super Monkey Island and all everything else. Like, they were killing it.
LucasArts made some fucking bangers, and the fact that they
bangers. Not even Star Wars related. Their Star Wars related stuff was good too, but I mean, some of the stuff they did. I mean,
you get Sam and Max,
all
that
Max,
shit. Like
Grim
Fandango. Oh my goodness, did they do the
Outlaws? Like they had.
Did they do the one where you're the dead guy?
I thought that was Grim Fandango. Yeah.
Wait, Grim Fandango. Oh wait, a Full Throttle. Then never mind. I was like, what's the one where you were the motorcycle driver? Yeah, Full Throttle.
Outlaws too. Like there were so many.
Yeah.
And like they finally revitalized that, but it's like you had this property. Like, what are you doing? Like if I was gonna buy something for $4 billion, like I don't know, I might mine all of it.
Right?
I just might. I don't know.
And Dave, good job on sharing some of these cards.
Yeah,
man.
What I'm trying to get at is that you see.
I take it, Hans, you got some of these.
Hold on, what do you got?
You got the Star Viper
the miniatures.
I just put on for the Micro Machines because I was like, that was.
He kept saying the Micro Machines. I was like, oh, I should show him the miniatures because this was a fun game. It was a tense game, but it was a cool space dogfighting game. But
did you play it?
Yes, God damn it. Let me tell the story. Let me tell you the fucking story. Give me 1 fucking minute.
You're Iranian brandy, buddy. The green champagne is kicking in.
I have a point. I swear to God, I'm going to get to it.
Knock him dead. Knock him dead.
What I'm trying to get at is that as I was playing this and blowing all of my money, buying these expanded universe ships that kind of get this like new life. I get to touch it. I get to like put it on the board. It's not just a comic book now. Now I get to actually have Bosk's giant freighter.
Oh my God.
And stuff.
Like this?
So, look, I'm sure all those ships.
Look at this shit.
What I'm trying to get at is that like they're not just an image now. Now it was a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
I get to play with it. I'm getting excited.
Yes.
And then these new movies come. So then Fantasy Flight's like, great. What new ships you got? We have an X-Wing that's black. And we have a TIE fighter that's kind of gray and black again.
Yeah.
And you saw it when you got the new movies and you got the new ships. You're like, okay, these are all these main characters. Here's Wex Snapley in a black X-Wing. You're kind of like, damn it. I thought you guys were going to have some more expanded universe ships. I'm just playing with the same stuff. It wasn't until like we finally got the heavy bomber.
Oh my God.
That's
like,
bomber.
we're getting somewhere because you're just like, Kylo Ren's ship is still similar to the other ones. It kind of looks like an interceptor.
It was wild.
It's because when they got the prequels, like people were like, "What's this Naboo bullshit? What are these droid fighters? Fuck that! I want X-wings. I want TIE fighters. I want something that resembles the thing I loved when I was an infant."
Yeah, it's always interesting because Shadows of the Empire, as we were talking about, was very planned. Like they made sure that the toys were related to what we were going to see because famously in both the prequels and the originals, so sometimes the toys had nothing to do with what you saw on film. You're like, this must be a major character because they had a toy. Nope.
Outrider was the Millennium Falcon, but it wasn't. So it was perfect.
Yeah. Here's Walrus Man.
The Outrider is actually a fucking incredible design. The Outrider is amazing. Yeah. The Outrider is so good.
So, how do you play this trading card game? Is it like any other where you just
hold on? Let me open up the rules.
Okay. Oh, good. It'll be your next hour. Riveting podcast.
I honestly don't remember. I just remember going to like the card store and being like, "Yo, I want Darth Vader for $40. Give me that."
Oh my word!
I don't know. I have a whole fucking thing here. I don't know. Yeah, this is one of like 7.
And maybe you guys should do your custom game. Dave takes his micro machines. And
It's like
it's
like a Magic the Gathering type game, but
there you go.
I don't know how to play it.
I actually sold my Star Wars. Here's the reason was I said the new ships weren't that good. The new movies were not that great. I was like rewatching Clone Wars just to feel something.
Yes.
Just to give me the feel.
I do that all the time.
One of my friends, her boyfriend was like, "This sounds really cool. I kind of want to repaint these ships." I said, "I'll sell them to you." And I was like, "No problem." And he wanted to like kind of repaint them and kind of rejazz them up. And I said, "That's fine," because me and my other buddies, we all kind of like moved farther away, and we just never got to play as much because it was a fun game. It got really crunchy because the idea of like, you know, you build your ship and then they have different upgrades and you're like counting your points to make sure, oh, well, this version of the ship has this lasers on it and stuff. So it got really intense and really detailed. And I did a few tournaments, never went far, but like it was. But I think when you started seeing the new movies and they're you can just tell there's the runways running out of road. There's nothing. New ships, they start going in, then they did a prequel, and they're like, okay, we'll now have separate rules to make prequel Clone Wars style battles, so you can recreate the battle of Coruscant if you want. And then they started making other ships, and like I said, I was like, at that point, I kind of moved on. I said, well, the movies aren't going anywhere. I'm like, kind of disappointed.
Done, man.
And I got my kicks out of it.
I would like it if they changed the rules, Dave, to reflect the movies themselves. So it's like, oh, these ones are based on the sequels, where it's like somehow Palpatine's return. It's like, oh, if you die, you can just go, well, somehow I'm back. Okay.
This card just says Ichuta.
Eat shit and die.
That's it. That's what I'm dealing with right here.
What is sad, Cliff, is that Fantasy Flight was good for power creeping. Anything new, like if a new ship came along, it would have new weapons and it would have like a new ability. And if you're playing against somebody, you better know what that rule was. So like, and the rules were never like updated online. You had to buy the new rules that came in the pack of the new.
So it was like the Babylon 5 RPG.
Yeah, and that's why it is. Because then it was one of the biggest controversies at the time was like Dengar came out and he had like 18 different slots of 18 different weapons in his ship, and he was incredibly overpowered. And they clearly never play tested this, or they just wanted to power creep it. So the meta was like, oh, you got to put all these different things in Dengar's ship and you win, no problem. So they're like, okay, we're removing 10 of those slots. So like people who went to tournaments, they had to get a fucking hole puncher like they're working for Amtrak and just straight up punch holes in all those things. So because like they had to play tournament rules. And like I said, Fantasy Flight did the same shit with the Game of Thrones card game, which I also spent too much money on. When the TV show was on, I was like, "Oh, I'll play the Game of Thrones card game," and I got migraines from all the stress of trying to win those games. It really was. I probably got too much of this gray hair probably from those Sunday afternoons before the show was on. We all would gather, play, hate ourselves, then go watch the show.
So A-aron, you might
Sounds
remember
like Power Rangers syndrome going through
to bring Dengar back to the Shadows of the Empire.
Yes, he's it.
Shadows of the Empire did swoop bikes in the video game.
Yes.
Dengar got fucked up and turned into like a cybernetic egg because Han Solo dropped over his head and burned the shit out of it.
It would have to have been Dash Rendar, right? Because Han Solo is frozen in carbonite.
Han Solo did it to him.
Okay.
Han did it to him.
Why?
Han dropped him first.
An asshole who shot first.
Yes. A-aron, you might remember that there was a place where you could, I think, take like flying lessons or whatever, called Fantasy of Flight over in Lakeland.
Yeah.
In Lakeland, Florida, there's a place called Fantasy of Flight, and I remember seeing big signs for it, David. I was like, wait, Fantasy of Flight? No shit? And I'm like, oh, I see. It's like a place where you go and learn about planes.
And there's like a big
hang gliding.
Where you talk to animals, right?
Plane with a guy hanging from it or something.
You go in the woods and do drugs.
Yeah.
Perfect. Even better.
Where do you live in Florida? I used to live in Florida.
Don't mess with Grady Judd, man.
We both live in, I live in St. Petersburg, and A-aron lives in Tampa.
I like
Lakeland
Tampa.
is where Fantasy of Flight was.
I lived in Jacksonville.
People that made the playing cards. Where do you? Jacksonville?
I lived in Jacksonville for like 5 years. I fucking hated it.
Prime Florida, man, area.
Jacksonville is the worst fucking place.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Hans. It's brutal.
I like Tampa.
I wouldn't really call it Florida.
Tampa's all right.
It's Florida, man. It's Florida.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's Florida south of Gainesville, but
I remember. So Jacksonville, for any listeners that don't know the U.S. geography,
is South
Jacksonville
Georgia
is technically the biggest. Yeah, it's technically the biggest city in terms of geography in the U.S.
Yeah.
It is
because it goes out into the fucking nowhere.
Yeah, it's going to sound wild.
There's trees everywhere. It's like, hey, welcome to the city limits. Like, no.
So what you're telling me is Star Wars is inspired by all the lesser parts of Florida.
Jacksonville would be like Coruscant. It's just like this big city, but it doesn't. This is going to sound wild if you know LA, but it's like LA without any of the charm or soul.
Right, yeah.
As little as soul as LA has.
Really? I was afraid you would say that that would be Mos Eisley.
Oh, yeah.
It is a scum of a.
Scum and villainy. Yeah,
that's what I say about. That's what I say about Dallas.
It's not even Mos Eisley. It's the shittier version of Mos Eisley.
Dallas does have more of like that dusty feeling, Cam. I think.
It's so
Either way,
dusty.
Jacksonville. My recurring memory every time I drive through, and actually that's where you got married, right, A-aron?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
I
went in, and there was a big billboard, and it said $1 sushi, and I was like, no, that's not good. Like,
$1?
That's not good at all.
$1
sushi
to give you food poisoning? Sure, why not?
Yeah,
God, that place fucking
safe-ish.
Safe-ish. I guess it's better than gas station sushi. I don't know.
Yeah.
Keeping it at least within, even if we're off the Star Wars Shadows Empire, at least within the sort of world of sci-fi. A-aron's wedding was Babylon 5.
No. Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Oh, BSG is fun.
Yeah, he had the two main characters instead of the bride and groom on the cake and stuff. Yeah. I know, Cam, you
said I frack you.
For any listeners of this podcast, you can find an episode we did specifically on Battlestar Galactica. Where
yes, we did. It was epic. We were arguing about war crimes. It never stopped. But one thing I did also love about Night Jedi Academy, other than Jedi Outcast having some cursing by Luke saying, "Stop it, I don't give a damn," but something to that, like he said either damn or hell. But
I think what he said was, "Fuck you, fucking cocksucking cunts."
Fuck you fucking Jedi. You noob, you'll never be a Jedi.
You fuck off. Oh, that's Ewan McGregor in Trainspotting. Never mind.
That's that's Ewan McGregor in any movie that's not Star Wars. At Rogue Squadron Free, there's a level where you're on the Geonosis planet and you're having to fight battle droids that while going after an Imperial, and when you shoot him down, he goes, "Damn you!" But I loved in Jedi Academy how you kind of got a lot of what Dash was doing in Shadows, where you were having to get out of town and get rid of biker gangs, and you could keep hijacking their various futuristic cycles, and
swoop bikes,
whatever the hell you want to call it, nerd. Future bikes.
Nerd, what the fuck are we doing
here, Hans Gruber?
Dash Rendar is, if we were ranking just Star Wars ass names, like the most Star Wars ass of Star Wars names, that's right at the top. Like, that's Dash Rendar. I was like, bro, that sounds like you're making fun of Star Wars names. Like, so over the top. I love it. By the way, I love it.
Through the snow to render my graphics. I don't know. Dash
Rendar is a top tier George Lucas ass name.
Where the hell did Kyle Katarn come from? Yeah, and Solo.
No, Dash Rendar. That's a
Kyle.
You're a Stan or a Kyle.
What were you saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that's still worse than Luke, I guess.
Dash Rendar is another name for Dave Ryder. That's my hill I'm standing on.
Space Mutiny, one of the best Mystery Science Theater episodes. He has many crazy names and
the
writers.
Best Mystery Science Theater is Mitchell.
Oh, I do love it. Mine is that one's a tough one because it's definitely. I love Gunsmoke quite a bit, or is that what it's called? Yeah, not Gunsmoke. That's
Gunfighter.
Gunslinger. Thank you.
Yes,
that's one of my favorites, just because they rarely do westerns, and It just has a bunch of like little quick ones.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows like Manos, Hands of Fate, and all the classics. But
Manos, yeah.
I usually try and watch Gunslinger every at least Turkey Day, just because there's so many quick lines, and
they're just making.
And someone watch a lot of westerns or whatever. They're like Bass Masters, big fish face guy.
I would always lose. It's funny because it was one of the rare westerns, but so often they'll make a reference to like,
and it was Roger Corman too. So I'm always like, whatever they see, they're like, "Are those Jeep tracks?" And they're like, "Corman," and he's like, "So we filmed Swamp Diamonds on Wednesday and this one on Friday." And he's like, "Yeah, that's about it."
Yeah, they were continuing to give him shit for his low budget filmmaking, and but often they'll sneak in a reference to Gunsmoke or Rawhide. But it's I do quote Mitchell the most anytime I'm watching a awful like Punisher or knockoff or a Steven Seagal movie. I go, the hero of the movie, everyone.
It's just
there was a guy at Comic-Con.
Yeah, I make fun of the jazz music.
There was a guy at Comic-Con a few years ago that did the Manos Hands of Fate. That was his costume.
I saw that.
I wish those hands would just push him over.
Did you ever see? There was one in the late 2010s. I want to say 2018. They did one which was Thanos, the Hands of Fate. He dressed up as Thanos from Avengers.
Yes,
and had the Monos.
It's a clever one. But yeah, I thought about it all the time, especially because he has a glove, right? I'm like, wait a second.
Well, no, because he did a crossover. He mixed a Marvel.
Cam, why do you say Thanos like that?
He's trying to make it sound like
Are we
Manos.
really gonna go here? Are we really? I'd like Marvel.
We're off the rails. Like, why do you say it like that?
He pronounces it at like a man.
I pronounce it how I
God
see
damn
it.
you. God damn you all.
I give it the effort it deserves, which is none. All right.
Well, interestingly, when I'm always trying to bring it back to Shadows of the Empire. That was actually what I was like. The few things I want to talk about is the pronunciations, because I'm like, because there wasn't a movie and only the PC version of the game had live acted
some
scenes.
Cinematic. Yeah,
I don't have like pronunciations, which is wild because.
It's
Star
like
Wars,
Xizor,
that's a big thing. Like, and these are weird names. Yes, Xizor. For anyone that hasn't seen this and is just listening along, well, thank you. But it's Xizor, I believe.
Yeah, I said
like, you're right. Hans, yours Shizor. Shizor is probably more pronounced. I always in my head where it's going Zizor, which makes no sense. But I definitely, I'm standing by Big Jizz as this. Like,
I see.
That pronunciation I accept.
It's like giant. That's all.
Oh my god! I hope it's not like the overrated movie with James Dean.
No. Yeah, but there's wild names and stuff, and you're like, wait, I don't know how to say these. And what's funny is Star Wars is kind of famous, right, for not giving you good clues, because like people say even within movies different names, like
I mean Lando's like
Leia, right? Leia, like, and then
you're my friend. I'm your hand. No,
it had to be your hand. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, and how about where the hell did he? I love how you don't get this in the books, but in the game, they encourage you to just steal everything, steal all these other weapons. You can pack them around like a Duke Nukem type, and then you can get a damn jetpack.
Yeah. I would love it if they did,
right?
Because most people describe the modern Star Wars shows as like Filoni like banging his toys together, but in filming it, and I'm not saying this negative. A lot of people said this. Wonderful, strong people, tears in their eyes, but it would be funny to like
strong with their hands,
fully like embrace like video game stuff and just have like the main character flipping and flipping and flipping, breaking everything open, going off, standing perfectly still while you go take a piss.
Oh my god!
Just like, what am I watching? I was like, this is really bringing the video game ethics of.
I'm not sure we're ready to know. Right? Not sure we're ready to know. Now you'll love this. So John Knowles, who directed the game, apparently was one of the artists on Super Star Wars, as well as X-Wing, Rebel Assault, and Dark Forces. So, but who voiced Dash? They gave him an awesome voice. It was like, whoa. So Bob Burgeon was as usual being Luke, but Tom Kane was Lebo.
I'm always gonna guess. What's his name? Nolan North.
Not Nolan
This is like
North.
9 times out of 10 he's the voice.
They remade it. They remastered it. He remade it. Yeah,
yes,
he's totally going to be in it.
North.
So John Saigon, whose work includes, voices for Iron Man, Metal Gear Solid.
That's who did it.
Yep. Rest in peace.
Sean.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's passed. What else did you say he was in? Because Dash Rendar is well voiced.
He's Solid Snake in the English version of Part 2, as well as
Twitch. So that David Hayter now does Solid Snake. So then, all right, so he's the other one.
He was one of the early ones. He's done some live action roles. He was Twitch in Toy Story Free, and other voices include Minions, World of Warcraft, and Grand Theft Auto 5 as the population.
So he's in the Minions? He's a hot.
Just additional voices as well as Inside Out. So your guess is as good as mine, unless he puts it on his. I always love going to that one voiceover site. I always forget.
VO work is the greatest work of all time. You get paid to sit in a air conditioned booth for 3 hours,
right? So behind the voice is what I use.
That's the biggest scam of all time. I don't want to be an actor. I want to be a VO person.
You want to be a voice actor.
Let me say my stupid lines for 30 minutes.
And you get credited even if they don't use your voice or not.
In an air-conditioned room.
Yeah.
Comfortable. It's good.
I will say that one of our good friends, Brian Weissel, one of A-aron and I's good friends, he wrote for Rick and Morty and stuff. And he got started making cartoons. Yeah, if you watch season 2, you'll see Brian Weissel. It's my old roommate and a good friend of ours. But anyway, he got started. He'd be like, "Can you do VO work?" And I was like, "Yes." Like on stage, I was like, "This seems like it would be easy." No, it isn't.
No, it's not easy. I didn't mean to.
There's a reason why the big names are big. You know,
I can't do that. But that seems like the
right. It does. Gig. And I was also because he hadn't made it yet, so it was like definitely not an air conditioned room. It was his closet. It was soundproofed enough. And you're sitting in there going, "Take it again, take it again, take it again," going, "Kill me."
Permission to take my shirt off. Yeah.
Oh, he had already granted that permission. I come in with that on my rider.
Oh, Cliff.
I mean,
but anyway, so I also thought that, especially living in LA, I was like, "Oh, that would be fun to do." But then I was like, "Oh, fuck, it's work."
Well, I'm a firm believer that either you can do voices or you can't. You either have that in you or you can't.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
But even just
I can't
doing
do
a
voice. I can do my own voice barely.
Yeah. But it's like, Patrick Stewart and a few of the other actors who've come from stage usually tell they've done stage, like Ricardo Montalban's done stage, and you can see the way they do because they do a lot more body stuff to make sure that people can see it.
Acting.
And but then the close-up acting is totally different. It seems wrestling, you can always tell the whole.
Well, yeah, VO is
and when
so
you're VO,
different.
it's all here. No, you get nothing.
Yeah, it's so different than actual acting because they'll get someone from a Marvel movie doing
I can't just cry and people know I'm sad. You've got to hear it in my voice.
Suck. Yeah,
It's
a different type of acting, but I still stand firm, and that's the sweetest gig of all time. It's not. It's not a knock on it. It's not
right. No.
Less. It's just.
I'm just saying I'd like to do it too.
That's the fucking dream.
It's the perfect in between because you can do all this, but not necessarily be recognized in public. But also,
no one knows you. For 3 hours, you sit and make your entire nut for the year. In an air-conditioned room, nice and cool, fine. You just say your fucking lines, and you're done.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I respect it. It sounds like I'm talking down to it, but I fucking respect it,
actually,
and I wish I could do it.
This is a good segue, because one of the things I was thinking of when we were talking about this whole Shadows of the Empire is that because it's a multimedia thing, you start to realize different sort of storytelling. Like the way a comic is structured is totally different the way a book is structured, because you can't just show a picture and be like, you have to say in the book, you'd have to say
you're
I just shared Chewbacca or whatever. I was like, oh yeah, he's like, you can just see he's different. I don't have to explain it. In the book, you'd have to say, so anyway, they dyed him. He looks different now. So if you're worried, that's what's happening. And if you're playing a video game, that's different too, right? Because you have to be like, how do I sort of understand the story? How do I make it seem dangerous?
That's a great point, because that's the disconnect between all three of those things.
We don't realize
where
how
you have
it translates.
Well, they're also telling three different stories, sort of.
Yes,
sort of.
And they're each with their own identity.
Story, but if you didn't consume all three of them, you don't get the entire story.
And Dave made a point about on this kind of topic earlier,
yes,
which was it was one thing to sort of read the story, it's another thing to hold it in your hands and to physically sort of move it around and make it seem real to you. And there's different ways that's going to work for different consumers of the media, right? Different people are going to connect with it different ways.
That's true too.
And that's kind of neat because I think only a giant property like Star Wars could you pull it off. You couldn't do this with like Interview with a Vampire, be like, oh, cool.
Right. Like you could actually expect every one of your fans to consume all of them. That's fucking insane.
Exactly. You need to have a certain type of fan base.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan. All I did was play the game.
Yeah.
Now, Dave,
I was talking to A-aron. He just read the comics.
We're really thankful, though, that you were able to transport over here and land your ship and plant it, and then bring in some other deep cuts, as well as how it's translated and how this has survived fandom of any kind. So where can we find you on the social webs?
If you want to hear more of my talk on comic books, I have a few guest spots on Real Comic Heroes, but I hosted 5 Minutes of Mystery, which covered the 1999 superhero comedy ensemble Mystery Men.
Yep, I'll link that.
If you haven't heard it, Sean and I years ago we did Groundhog Minute, where we talked about the film with Bill Murray, directed by Harold Ramis.
Yes, he did.
So, I mean, like, I'm sure I've popped up on a few guest spots on a few other people's podcasts, but, for the most part, you can find me there.
Lovely. So you do comic? Wait, Dave, you do comic book stuff?
Well, I mean, like, I was on Real Comic Heroes for a few things with Travis, but we were talking about comic book movies, and I told him that like my favorite comic book movie still is Mystery Men from 1999.
Oh yeah.
I would love to hear you talk about Mystery Men for
maybe I got episodes.
I will link it to you.
I got the feed up for you.
I got it. 5 Minutes of Mystery. I'll link it to you.
I want that, and so everyone else should want that.
So check that and Groundhog Minute out, and I will.
Yeah, I was going to say, and since that's a pretty good segue, so A-aron and I do Predator Minute as part of this sort of same network. So you can go moviesbyminute.com. You can find any movie you like.
Are you getting back to
Gonzo
over
200?
Minute?
So we have 2 Predator Minute, which is fairly obviously Predator films. We're now in Predator 2. So we've got the big Predator poster over there.
Still.
We also do one called Gonzo Minute, where we're doing Hunter S. Thompson films, starting with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which we're still on.
Still on it,
so
we're gonna
that one's been going on a while. We do meetups, as Cam was talking about. I can't remember if that was green room or on recorded, but Dave, I think we've met you either in Philly or in Indianapolis or
both.
Portland.
It all comes together.
So we go all get together, and there's over 200 and I think 50 films now on that Movies by Minute network. But so feel free to check that out, and you can find us in any of the social medias at either Predator Minute or Gonzo Minute.
Lovely. What is advice to live by, other than use the Force inappropriately? An actual hat that I got from my brother.
Use it in a selfish way. Like get yours.
Selfish way. I love it.
Get your bag. That is more or less the Shadows of the Empire way. I had a line from the comic that I was going to pull in that was like extremely provocative, but I won't be able to.
It's provocative. No one knows what it
means. Yeah. It was like definitely sounded very sexual. So
I mean, those are the best kinds. Where
it was something about I'm gonna suck his bones dry or something. I was like,
I saw that. Yeah, you shared that earlier. So the line is, "I'm going to drink Mos Eisley dry."
No.
Yes,
only in Star Wars can you come up with this kind of Shatner-esque dialogue.
Yeah. And that was from Big Jizz, I think.
Yeah, it's from the bikers. What do you expect? Yeah, I'm sure. Only that's where Spielberg and Lucas interact. Spielberg would have that just to remind us to hate the biker, and Lucas is like, "Oh no, I don't want to go that far. I want my kids to see this."
Those are that's me and A-aron. What about Hans, Tom, you guys?
Tom is keeping it classy.
But no, I mean as far as social medias and projects are.
Nope, I got nothing going on at the moment. I'm just a frequent guest here, and
feel free to join ours anytime.
Absolutely.
And I think I was actually on one of the Predator minutes, right?
Yes, you were. You were awesome.
Did that ever come out? I don't know. I never.
No, because A-aron does the editing, and I'm the person who does the actual posting it online, and I'm the worst. So
well, yeah,
everyone do not hire me.
And I don't.
It's in the can.
I never look up anything.
It's in the can, but it is not uploaded.
Dave,
I remember having a good time.
Where did you find that toy? Okay, Dave has flashed. Okay, so I had the
I've
name.
never opened it. It's used, but I've never actually opened this box. It's got a little dust on it. It's been on my shelf behind me. I was like, oh yeah, I have Dash and the Outrider there unopened.
And there's where it gets to be a sexual name, the Outrider. But
it's the first time I'm opening this.
But it is wild how you're opening it. Oh wow! But
you know what? Here. It is still sealed. It's still sealed.
It's a golden one. You were about to get a tour of the Disney factory.
Unboxed.
It is sealed.
Expired now.
The box doesn't have a seal on it, so I opened it up and immediately I could see the ship is still wrapped in a plastic in its cardboard containers. So this is an unplayed, untouched Outrider.
All right,
that is beautiful.
It's just been diddled a little bit.
Yeah, the Outrider, by the way, again for people that don't know it, that is Dash Rendar's ship.
The white
it's his Falcon, but you'll love this. It apparently
it's a Carillion freighter. It's not
with shoulder pads.
It's a
Carillion freighter with
wow,
shoulder.
How original!
It's appeared in some of the Dark Horse Clone Wars comics, as well as Force Unleashed 2 and Bounty Hunter video game, where you're playing as Jango Fett. So it's got some love.
Yeah. They were going to name San Holo, I think, but they were like, no.
Yeah.
There is just no differentiation between those characters. They were like, what if he were a smuggler who's also a bit of a rogue and sort of incorrigible and handsome and white? You're like, that's a good idea.
Where do you want it to? Yeah, what do you want his name to really be? But yeah, it's apparently in the special edition of the original Star Wars. So yeah,
the Outrider shows up in the special edition of New Hope.
Probably not in any significant way. It's just there, but
it's just that version of the ship.
It's just that version of that version of the movie.
2400, I believe is what it's called.
But how wild! I knew we were gonna go down a rabbit hole of fun stuff, but I had no idea we were gonna have all this other stuff too. Yeah, that was a thing. Why isn't it more of a thing? And we like him because of nostalgia, but is he really that significant? Kind of, but not really. But maybe.
I think so.
I think he's still on the table.
Meet me halfway. Yeah.
Well, he exists in canon. Like he's been referenced in books here and there. Like
in bogus.
As a dude.
Hopefully in good fiction, not bogus fiction. Sorry, you were saying
no, like canon. He's technically exists in canon.
Yeah,
I know.
I think it's one of those things where right now in my brain he is perfect. And it's one of these. I wish Disney would bring him in, but I also they could get the worst writer and they could ruin his character, and I have to see that on screen.
Yeah, as they would.
It's
one of these that happen.
Get the Andor writers
perfect.
Many times.
Most part, it hasn't been touched. It hasn't been cannibalized and ripped apart too much. It still exists in this pocket dimension that was the time between Empire and Return of the Jedi. So that's where I'll end my part. Is that I still love it. I still think about it, and I'm always on the fence.
Awesome.
Can I trust Disney to reincorporate into some kind of movie, TV show? I don't know. I'm scared that they'll botch it.
I think they will. Whether they do it well is a whole other story. But I think he will come
the
back.
Ideas are more interesting.
He does exist in the world. Like he's shown up in a book. Like tangentially. Like he exists in canon. He's
somewhere in the Netherlands.
He's real. Those fingers.
You had to bring up fingers again. My God. Filthiest podcast.
I think at this point we have to ask the question of what isn't in canon in Star Wars.
What isn't rewritten and redone
that's
or special
the beauty,
editions?
That's the beauty of calling it Legends is you can pick and choose what you want to canonize. Because it's these are campfire stories. You know?
Yes.
These are things we tell people there's elements of truth throughout them.
Concepts of a truth. Oh.
Yeah. On that note, I will leave you guys. Leave
us to play with our sabers. All right. Hey, no. It was a delight having you on here. And we'll try to do it more often, and we'll link your shows in here.
All right.
Dave, always pleasure.
Oh, pleasure. Guys.
Yep, I put my email in there. Get in touch.
It sucks that we got jobs now and then to just do surveys all day and then dick around and exercise and then watch these damn movies.
Yeah, there's the real dream, Hans. Even better than voice acting.
Yeah.
Play around with the damn computer. A-aron, what would you say what do you think is most impactful about all this multi-format spinoff other than wacky connections and
I don't know. I mean, it was cool just to see I didn't know this existed until Cliff put me onto it, but it was cool to see the connection, just stuff filled in. But I've got to wonder, is Disney going to play the Marvel universe thing and start doing parallel universes and crap like that?
That's what I thought they were going to do to begin with before we had Mickey Mouse holding his saber figures.
I mean, does it even matter? They can just
it doesn't matter anymore.
Anytime,
Oh man,
yeah. But I see a lot of it as just sort of lazy writing, but I mean, it's cool.
It's cool in a lazy way. Yeah, it is kind of.
It's lazy production.
Yeah, the guy who did the comic, I think that was his first comic.
I'll put it to you
and
this way.
Does not always work because he describes things like they're books, even though I just said you don't have to do it. You'll see a lot. It's like, as you can see, this is happening. And I'm like, I can see that. You do not have to tell me.
You don't have to state the obvious. But that's just it too. Star Wars states the obvious in a typical way, but it's
to be true, that's actually it's like
we
saying the writing's not great.
It should just be a forgettable rainy day time kill, but it's somehow, I think, because it was a more organized effort, we remembered it compared to other one-offs where we're like, yeah, of course they did that. Who cares? It's just like.
I mean, it was memorable because it was memorable.
Yes.
It was interesting. They were filling in a gap that we wanted to be filled in.
Cliff, are you being force choked by one of the Imperials right now?
Probably.
But no, I'm with you, Hans. It is one of those. You always wondered, Han can't be the only fucker keeping this whole Echo base up and running.
There's 3
There's got to be 5 dozen
There's
other
3
smugglers.
years in between him being put into a slab of beef and then showing up, in Jabba's palace. There's a lot of story to be told.
It can't just be a both-on spy who got killed.
We wanted to know what the fuck happened. Why did it take them that long?
Absolutely.
They have this entire armada. Why did it take them so fucking long to find him?
Oh, that's just it. It's like they're so desperate at this point. It's like we need any bounty hunter, we need any merc to steal something for us, and we take credit for it.
Seems like it shouldn't have taken that long, but
it really shouldn't. But Star Wars, because Star Wars.
I found the line. It's Luke. I'm not gonna give you the context because that would ruin it. Luke says, Leia, I'm here. I'm coming for you. And she says, he's close. Oh, Luke. That's all you get. I will read the comic. If that doesn't entice you, I don't know what could.
It's titillating.
This is before they found out. Oh, wait. Actually, it's after.
And people say there's no sex in Star Wars. I don't know. I read it differently.
There might be too much.
Yeah. It's so cool. I can look the other way just this once.
I'll tell you, going back to that, not being able to find Han right away, there was a very simple answer for that. All of them had GPS, but it was all voiced by Yoda.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That was the problem.
Interested I was.
That motherfucker sitting on Dagobah being like, no, there's another.
Yeah, turn now, you will. 5 miles from now.
Then fucking get on it, dude.
I'm not going to lie, though.
There's another, and you're just sitting here doing nothing. There's another. Fuck you. You're just chilling with Obi-Wan. There's another. Get the other.
Don't you love how slowly they've given Yaddle, the other female Yoda, a backstory? Yeah.
There's another.
You should totally be sexting his ex-girlfriend and other Jedis, just being like, hey, man, how you doing?
Well, he finally found out what happened to Yaddle.
Yeah, thank God.
Christopher Guest.
Yaddle got Christopher Lee just crushed.
Christopher Lee, not Christopher Guest. No, Christopher Guest.
Count Dooku killed
Christopher Lee just smashed
Count Dracula
Bryce Dallas
with
Howard.
lightning. Killed
Smashed Bryce Dallas Howard in that thing.
Yeah.
That was a wild that they did that. Is like she's the director on these Mondo shows, and then they're like, "How about you voice this?" One of this.
Well, yeah. Hey, how about you tie up this loose end we had?
Yavel. That was the one
where
George
Lucas.
George
Lucas was like, "Hey, let's put this stupid-looking puppet here."
I always feel like they must occasionally reach out to Lucas for names. So like, hey, so we've got a new Yoda character. What should we name him? You say Yaddle? Yep, that's okay. We're going with it.
You guys claim
he's still got it. He's still got it.
He's still got it. I do. Viagra I did not need. But I think that explains your frustration, Hans. Is like, this is why he's so cynical and spoiled. He's waiting. He could just tell Luke straight up, and he's like, "Nah, he has to work for it. He must."
Yoda, man, he just sat there on this swamp planet.
Sat there.
He could have done things.
Feeling sorry for himself.
Yep.
Yeah, he was just sitting there having a sulk.
There has to be an alternate universe where Luke says, "No, motherfucker,
there are.
You're coming with me to save my friends, and you're gonna." Have you
ever looked up Star Wars Infinities, which are what if for Star Wars?
Oh, that was what we were talking about earlier. Yeah,
we were.
I couldn't remember the name of it.
And one of them, Yoda just pilots the Death Star into Coruscant.
Yeah, they
just crashes it in.
Yeah, size
He's like
matters
talking
not.
to the Emperor. He's like,
for real.
Hey, what's
for
up,
real?
bitch?
Yeah,
I'm coming. And then he just
I'm coming for you,
into
fucker.
him.
Yeah, it's and not to mention not to forget how the Star Wars was like the first one where I created my own alternate endings, because that's how I knew it was so awesome. I could come up with so many what ifs. It's
because it's a world you want to live
what if
in
Wedge?
and,
What if Luke died and
about,
Wedge gained Jedi powers? You know, there's all kinds of shit you could do. You know, it's like,
Wedge was my favorite character.
What if the Sand People killed Anakin during the pod
Again, we
race?
don't use that term, but
And
yeah,
spared-
Brian North.
Oh my god!
No, it's all right.
We're getting PC over here.
Oh, wait,
No,
what's that? Yeah.
Brian North, the author, he does a bunch of comic books and other stuff, but he did Squirrel Girl and stuff. But Brian North, I remember once said something. He's like, there is no such thing as canon, even within the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
Whatever
man.
you want to be canon is
Yes.
true. Whatever your story is, that's the true story.
Yeah, whatever you give a fuck about, whatever you want to
You know
care
what?
about.
I'd say
Honestly, why the best thing that Lucas, that Disney did, was calling it Legends.
Yeah.
Because then it's like it's a campfire story. Whatever you think is
It was a long time ago.
If you think the new Jedi Order with Yu Zhang Vong and all that bullshit, you think that happened? It did.
You're right.
Did the rabbit and the horse Jedi hook up? Hell yeah, they did.
Yeah,
of course
Luke
they did.
fuck a computer.
Wait till you
he
see
did.
my fucking DeviantArt account.
Did.
Oh my god, DeviantArt. There's a. I'm sure that's not on Tumblr, and they're shutting that down. Oh.
I gotta keep it out of the eyes of Disney. But yeah,
right.
but that's what Shadows of the Empire was, right? It was like them saying, "Hey, we're gonna have some fun with some characters, and none of it's gonna
they were
truly
like,
matter."
let's
and that's
fill in a gap of 3 years that made no sense.
Well,
do that.
You could totally just let AI just write some of these stories, alternate, and it would probably do better than Disney would.
All right.
That's a wrap.
I'm upset.
I invited the Disney rep.
Yeah, wait.
I'm only angry because that's probably
what is going to happen.
Yeah, I know.
It's totally going to happen. Are you kidding?
I know.
Are you sure?
It'll be better than Disney.
It'll still be better than Rise of Skywalker.
You motherfuckers.
What would you want to have happen? But man, yeah, Yoda.
Hey, I need to come on for another minute of Predator 2.
Yeah, we'd love to have you.
Yes, you should.
I don't know if that ever came out. I don't.
I will post them. I had a couple.
I don't give a shit if
and
it
I didn't do shit. So
I don't care if it ever comes out. I want to hang out. With
I don't
you guys.
know how far behind I am.
I just want to hang out with you guys again. That's it.
Sounds good. Hey, A-aron, you're good. You're only a couple weeks back on Predator and about the same on Gonzo, but I am literally 40 episodes back.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, I'm switching over. Cam actually.
I don't care.
This is all
I don't care
conversation.
If what we ever do comes out. I don't give a fuck.
This is not what the listeners came for. This riveting content.
Are you kidding? I think this is about how we make the sausage.
Listeners.
They want to see how it's made.
Yeah, famously, that's what people want.
Yeah, but what I want is
we made all these dong and lightsaber jokes. I think we've earned it.
Give a shit about listeners. Listeners.
Do listeners give a shit about anything?
Who cares? Who cares about those fucking sheep? Who cares?
This seems like a good time to plug NordVPN.
I give no fucks about it.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening. It's a jacked up